2020, what a year. Where do we start? Well, the thing is, this is about whiskey, and this is the vPub. It's only going to be about whiskey, and that is where we start. I'll see you in a wee minute. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to a Thursday night. Welcome to the last. No, it's not Thursday night. It's Tuesday night. Thursday night is Hogmanay, so we've pulled it forward a couple of days. But regardless, this is the last vPub of 2020. So many of us are going to be wanting to slam the door on 2020. We're really looking forward to saying good riddance to it. We've still got some challenges and things ahead of us. But of course, this is the vPub. So we're not going to focus on those things, and we're not going to focus on all the negativity and the brutal and bizarre year that 2020 was. This is our escape from all of that. This is our protected space, if you like. So tonight we're going to celebrate the good things that happened around our whiskey experiences in 2020. And I'm going to take you through a little journey from the start of the year to more recent times. And use bottles. I'll just hold up bottles and I'll share little anecdotes and memories of mine from 2020. And then as the night progresses, I've got a couple of guests to come in and play a little game to celebrate as at a Speyside, and they play for some sniper coins. And then I'll talk about my producer of 2020. I know it's a silly thing, but it's something that I do take seriously, and it's nice to talk about it, and I know that you guys would expect it now. And then later on, talk about my whiskies of the year and nominate my whiskey of the year as well. And then we'll finish with a Menno-hosted quiz. Menno from Belgium, he's hosted a few fantastic quizzes for us towards the end of this year, and it seemed appropriate to bring him in to host the quiz at the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to welcoming Menno back, and then I can participate in the quiz along with you. Thanks to everybody for joining tonight. We're knocking on for getting close to 200 people in already. There was well over 100 as we went live tonight. I'm very, very grateful for the support, even throughout the holiday season. It's been fantastic to have you all hanging out. If you're watching this on Facebook, I might struggle to get to your comments, although I have pulled up the chat here, so I will try from time to time. Most of the chat that I'm interacting with is the barflies in the lounge here over on YouTube. If you are picking this up on the replay, I really do appreciate that. But if you are picking up on replay, please thank all the barflies who have joined the channel membership or supported through Patreon in order to keep the vPubs free from monetization and therefore advert free. So that means if you're picking up on the replay, you'll be able to chop it up into little bits and you don't have to sit through ads. Furthermore, because I'm going to be talking throughout tonight, it's going to be quite a stream. I imagine that, yes, we'll try for 2 hours, but there's no chance that we'll make it. Somebody needs to sit on my shoulder and stop me from talking so much. But we'll do our best. And I'll put in timestamps. So if you are picking this up on the replay, look in the description box, look in the comments below for timestamps. And that'll take you to the whiskey and the moment and the various chapters and segments throughout tonight's live stream. I won't be able to do that while we're live, of course, but hopefully afterwards I'll be able to go back and do a wee bit of housekeeping, and that might make it easier for you to watch this after the event. Anyway, let's get on with the stream. Let's jump into the lounge and welcome in some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. So good to see you all. Familiar faces, of course. Who do we have tonight? We have McCallum, Fine and Rare, the Doc. Thank you so much to all my moderators, the Doc included, for your support throughout this year. I'm thinking of Steve A over in the States. I'm thinking of Alistair Gray. I'm thinking of Gregor McQuee. I'm thinking of Whiskey Jason in Germany. Everybody that helps just keep this chat moving and keeps it so welcoming and happy. Hans Waldman has bought me a dram to say 2020 was a difficult year, but a silver lining for me was getting into whiskey. Thanks for your guidance. Cheers, Alexander. Alexander, you're very, very welcome, my friend. And it's down to people like you discovering whiskey and sharing your whiskey experiences, regardless of where you are on that journey in YouTube, that makes this such a vibrant community. Thank you, Alexander, for your drama, friend. It's nice to have you here. Cheers. And another one pops in. Just as I say that, from Pete. He's bought me a dram and he's just said cheers. Pete, thank you very much for your virtual drama, friend. Cheers straight back to you as well. Cheers, Pete. Thank you. Nice to have you in. Yes, so thanks you to all my moderators throughout 2020 for making it a hell of a lot easier for me to manage when everyone's in. Benjamin Hunter is here. Greg's Whiskey Guide. Kresimir is in. Kresimir, the Sniper King. You might see him and to celebrate his amazing record at winning sniper coins. He's coming to join us for a wee game, a visit to Speyside a bit later on, and he's waiting in the background, my friend from Croatia. Jimmy Legg is here. Good to see you, my friend. Willie Dolier, good. Go Habs is here. Nice to have you in, Spiro. It's good to have you back, my friend. Petehead is here. Chris is here. Graham Horner, Whiskey Works. Good to have you, Graham. Jimmy Legg, I've already mentioned you, but it's worthy to mention you twice, Jimmy. Orange Rule is here. That's Rule. Good to have you, Rule. Daniel Vermaas, of course, Daniel. Good to have you. Steve Whiskey Brer is in. Aquavite. Good, glad to get to watch. Sorry, good, even glad to get to watch one live for once. Steve, it's nice to have you here. Perhaps it's because of the holidays that you can watch, but it's nice to have you regardless if it's live or on the replay, my friend. Radek is here. Helen is here. I hope Andy's sat next to you, Helen, and I hope you're both doing very, very well. Evo is saying, I have a bottle of Lefroy Glore to keep me company for the evening. And all of you lovely people, of course. Fantastic, Evo. Nice to welcome you in with your Lefroy. Tubular Bells is here. Good to have you, Tom. James Alsop, part of the Nottingham Whisky Association. I found out recently, I was always very pleased that the London Whisky Club formed in the channel way back, I think in 2017, 2018. And that's gone on to great things. That's a massive club now, a massive organisation and a lot of members. But I heard recently that throughout 2020, one of the other clubs that's been formed in the lounge here in the chat here is the Nottingham Whisky. I always forget what the A is now. It used to be a joke. Association, I think, NWA. But they started off with just a handful of members, just the core founders. Richard Hall, James Burgoyne, Fraser. I'm wondering who I'm going to forget here now. Quite a few of them. James Alsop as well, obviously. And now they are knocking on for more than 40 members. It's fantastic that that is happening. It's fantastic that people are finding other people that are geographically close enough for them to get together and form these clubs and these whiskey appreciation societies, even in times when it's hard to get together in real life. Congratulations, everybody at the Nottingham Whisky Association. And let us know if your membership is open, and let us know if you're open for more members. And if you're thinking of starting a club or doing anything like that close to where you are, I'd be very happy to support that. Just let me know where you are and what you're after. Yash is here. Jelly Miller is here. Precarious Dave is here. Nice to see you, Dave. Pete Headley, J Brown, Tabitha Mills, Stefan Novak over in Germany. Good to see you, Stefan, and so many more. Chris is apologising for being late. There's no such thing as being late to the vPub, Chris. It's nice to welcome you whenever you get here. Tabitha Mills is saying, Aquaviti, I can say now that we received the order in time for James Alsop's Christmas present. Thank you. So you did receive the delivery in time. So James managed to get his Christmas present. I'm very glad. It was tricky because and it only became apparent just how acute the delivery issues were going to be. I'll apologise for last week. 3 participants were down because they never received the packages for the blind challenge last week. The community stepped up and filled the gaps. But I noticed that we had lots of audio issues and sound quality issues that were not apparent to me. Just how bad they were until after the event. Perhaps it was down to the connection. I hope it's better tonight. And Precarious Dave has seen that Neil's here vicariously. I've actually got a wee picture of Neil to share a wee bit later. It's, if he's not here, he'll see it on the replay. Billy Saunders is saying, Aquavit, the NWA, we're always open for people. Billy Saunders, one of the founding members as well. There'll be plenty of things planned, always open. So the membership is open. So if you're down in that area of the Midlands, down south, you can either get in touch with those guys through me or through the lounge here in the vPub. Go right ahead and introduce yourself. Lee J is saying, hi Roy, I'm looking for a local club or association near me. Any help would be great. Chippenham in Wiltshire. I know you're down in Wiltshire. I used to live very close to there, Lee J. I appreciate the Midlands is quite a journey for you, but who you should speak to probably are the guys at Arkwright's, Fran and Ken at Arkwright's in Highworth. I think the town that they are in is Highworth. They will surely be in touch with the local clubs and things that are around you there. If you struggle in that direction, my brother still lives in Swindon, so he might know some whiskey clubs as well. I could reach out to him. Molasses is saying, cheers, Roy. You, the channel, and all of the barflies have been a real treasure in 2020. Happy New Year. Molasses, thank you so much, my friend. It's just nice to see you around here. It's nice to have your support, and it's nice to hear that you've had some benefit out of the community. It's like so many of us have, including myself, honestly, during 2020. Jimmy Leggs bought me a dram saying, this dram is a bribe to get Kilkerran bourbon on the Whiskey of the Year list. Jimmy's been campaigning me to make sure that there's more Campbelltown whiskies on the Whiskey of the Year list. I have to say that Campbelltown whiskies are doing very, very well under their own steam right now. I think the problem that a lot of us have with Campbelltown whiskies is that they're becoming harder and harder to get a hold of. But I hear you, Jimmy. It's fantastic stuff. And you might remember, Jimmy, that Kilkerran was clearly, easily my producer of the year in 2019, and they thoroughly deserved that. Donald Pask is saying, hi, Antonio at Whiskey Quest channel is 31 away from 1,000 subscribers. Can you give him a shout out? Lovely guy, doing regular content. He's been there a wee while now. He's not one of these channels that sprung up in the last couple of months. Antonio has been doing it for a little while. Whiskey Quest's on YouTube. He's a lovely guy. He's part of the community. He drifts in and out. He's very supportive. And he's an easy guy to watch. He likes to play with video and editing and things like that as well. So yes, if you have to understand how big a deal it is, how many more tools in the box are opened up to a creator once they hit that magical but very difficult 1,000 subscriber mark. If anybody, Tim, if you want to drop in the link for Whiskey Quests into this lounge, I would ask the mods to let that pass, and hopefully we can all go in and leave a wee comment for Antonio to say Happy New Year and say Happy New Year from me too. I encourage you all to give Antonio a wee look. There's lots of great, fantastic channels out there. And Tim, I really appreciate you looking out for Antonio as well. It'll make him very, very happy to reach that point. Anyway, I'm sipping one of my Whiskey of the Year nominations. And I have to say, it's one of those whiskies, I'm sure all of them are, that does very, very well from being open in the glass for a little while. It's been here for an hour. I'm going to sip these throughout the night and I'll get to it a wee bit later. David Evans is saying, evening, Aquavit, just did a lovely Glenfarclas tasting with the Southport Whiskey Club. Good things have come out of lockdown. Southport Whiskey Club as well. So if you're further north in England, there's another club available for you there. I don't know if the membership is open, but perhaps, David, you could let us know. Steve A has put the link in. Thank you, Steve. You're a star for Antonio's Whiskey Quest channel over on YouTube, as is Whiskey Jason. So click it and give it a wee link, and we can all celebrate Antonio at the end of the year hitting 1,000 subs. David Owens is saying he enjoys Antonio's reviews as well. Excellent. So where do we start? I want to raise a wee glass to wish some good health to a friend. One of our friends, Marcus Kreitner, was taken into hospital for some emergency surgery earlier today, but I can tell you that it's good news, and I've since had a very happy picture back from him on a group chat with a thumbs up to show that he's in good shape. Max, I know that you can't be dramming with us tonight. Maybe you're listening in on a pair of headphones and if the hospital has decent Wi-Fi, but I'm very glad to see your face happy and healthy, and hope you have a quick and full recovery, my friend. We're thinking about you, Max. Hope you're doing well. Cheers, my friend. You're welcome to send some love out to Max Kreitner as well, and I'm sure Christina will be a wee bit worried for him. I also want to raise a wee dram, and I'm not sure if he's in. I've been kind of having a wee look in the chat to celebrate a birthday. and I'll pick up a different dram, and I'll raise a wee glass to my dear friend, Eire McFault. It's not your real name, buddy, but it's your best name. I'll raise this wee glass to Eire McFault, and I'll say, many happy returns to you, Eire. It's been a pleasure to get to know you over the years, and I'm very grateful to have you as part of this community too. Cheers, my friend. Happy birthday. Jimmy Legg is suggesting that Marcus Kreitner, that is his doppelganger, and if he's not okay, I'm not okay. He's doing okay now, Jimmy, but he'll be very glad to hear that you're thinking about him as well. So let's go back to 2020. It's surreal. That's the best word for 2020. Dark, menacing, bizarre, surreal. And I think that we still have a few more months of pain, but we're going through these months with hopefully some bright light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to take a long time for us to get to a position where everybody's recovered, vaccinated, and feeling better about this whole mess. If I go back to January and February, when this thing started to rear its head, I remember the discussions that we had about it. And I remember we were out in pubs, we were in club meets, we were together, we were at festivals and events. And we couldn't really, we weren't willing to let it dawn on us just how big a deal it was going to be. We didn't realize just how big a deal it was going to be. We didn't realize how severe it was going to be. The concept of a lockdown in January and February seemed absurd. But March came along and I managed to make a fantastic trip down to a closed distillery event, part of the London Whisky Club hosted tasting. Wonderful, warm, fuzzy family feeling to it. We were all sitting around the table tasting magnificent whiskies. There was a lineup already predetermined of closed distilleries. I mean, really some unicorn whiskies on the table. But what's more is that people were bringing out other bottles and putting them on the table, things that they'd brought along to open, pour, and share at the event. It was fantastic. But again, there was this feeling that it was going to be restricted very, very soon. I came home, and I want to show you a little picture, a little image here. This was a couple of nights after that trip. And you'll see this picture. And if I look at this picture now, it's bittersweet for me because this was a really nice night with some friends. I'll share it here. This is on the left, Kilted Moose. There's me, obviously. That's Jim Jensen, Jimmy Jazz. That's the birthday boy himself, Eire McFault. And then there is Neil. And I hope that's Neil Cochrane. I hope none of you mind me putting your picture up here. So many of you have appeared on the channel, so I'm sure you don't mind. However, if I look at that image now and consider that that was the 13th of March, Jimmy and Eire managed to make it out over the course of that weekend, and Jimmy flew home on the Monday and just managed to make it in before the flights into the States were all cancelled. Eire managed to make it home as well, but it was that Monday that the restrictions started to come in, and then a week later on the 23rd of March, in the UK certainly, and most of the world, I have to say, suddenly found themselves on severe lockdown. That picture there is a picture of the last night I was in a pub. I have not been inside a bar or a pub since that night. The lockdown is now in place here again, and it looks like it's going to continue for weeks and months ahead. How long is it going to be before we get back to doing that kind of thing again? It's troubling. It is really, really troubling. And yet, we have managed to come together. Eire McFault has actually bought me a dram. Birthday and vPub equals virtual dram. Thanks for everything, Roy. You are a whiskey hero of the year. Thank you very much, Eire McFault, you star. I'll raise a sweet glass. That's a very generous dram, my goodness, Eire. That's going in my back pocket until we meet again. Thank you, my friend. Slanchiva to you. Happy birthday. We've managed to find these ways of coming together like we never knew was possible before. Not just through these live streams and broadcasts, but virtual events, virtual tastings. We've been forced to connect in groups in ways that perhaps we were a little bit shy of, we didn't understand the value of before, but we were encouraged to step into that space. And I think for a lot of people, the takeaway from this will be to keep at least some of that going forward. We don't need to give up all of this community, because what we lose in real life being able to sit together is we're able to reach further. We're able to connect with people that are far, far further away, much more remote than we are potentially. Maybe if we live in a populous place, we have the ability to go to events and club nights and distilleries and things. There are people out there that don't have that luxury, but they can live in a whiskey environment and enjoy a sense of connectedness and a shared experience through the virtual platforms. And that exploded this year. And it's been wonderful to witness, and certainly wonderful to be a part of. Ronald is saying that's not a dram, it's a bottle. Yes, yes, a virtual bottle. You're right, Ronald. It is very generous from my friend there. It could buy at least one of the bottles that I've picked out tonight to share with you. Let's start with that. Let's start 2020. Jimmy Jazz has bought me a dram as well. Another generous one for the Pot Still Fund for 2021 for more barflies to come and visit. I'll have to raise a glass to that, Jimmy Jazz. I think that's a wonderful sentiment right there. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. So in March, you go back to March, and then at the end of March and into April, I was speaking to my wife and I decided the first thing I have to do is do weekly vPubs instead of every 2 weeks. People were at home, they were stuck. More than anything, I was stuck at home as well. Then I furthermore suggested that maybe if it's really as bleak as it's seeming it's going to be, maybe I should be doing something extra. I should be doing Sunday night vPubs, and I did Sunday night vPubs too. And that was much, much easier to do than I imagined. The Sunday night things didn't need any thought for content. I could just use it as a hangout. It was extended opening, we called it. And it worked very, very well. Then the rest of the industry stepped into the space, and you start to see virtual shows, lots and lots of virtual tastings. You start to see that people are available suddenly to come and join you on the show. People like Charlie McLean, he was there just before lockdown kicked in. I think that showed a lot of people that the vPub was a safe environment to come into. Charlie very much enjoyed his time being here with all of you. And after that, we had one of the first kind of whiskey celebrities from the industry stepping in to join us, and that was Fred Laing. I'm going to hold up a bottle from Fred. It's not actually from him, I bought this myself, but it's one of his bottles. And through so many of the amazing virtual tastings I had at the start of the year, I discovered this bottle. And it's been amazing to be able to participate in all of these things, because it's not just a case of sitting and pouring a dram with people. There are tasting packs being sent out, and we can all have a shared experience and enjoy the same whiskies together. It's not the same as sitting shoulder to shoulder opposite somebody. It's not the same. But it is a bit like sitting around a much bigger table. So rather than you being in small, tight groups where the conversation kind of stays amongst that group throughout the course of the night, the conversation is much more of a networked conversation. It's a much wider experience. So there are some positives that you don't get if you're actually in a real life space where you can only really have bi-directional discussions. I was in a London Whisky Club tasting with Fred Laing at the start of the year. And this was one of the whiskies that was shared on that night. And this is a distillery that I struggle to connect with. Everybody knows I struggle to connect with it, but I will still continue to try the distillery. I'm always looking for things from the distillery that represents what they make, unless what makes it into a bottle that doesn't always make sense to me. The official bottlings don't always make sense to me, but I'll continue to keep trying them. This is an independent bottling. This is from Fred Laing. This is part of their old particular series. I'll try to get my eyes out of shot so that this will focus. This is a Jura. This was one of the bottles at the start of the year that showed me the value of an independent bottler. Whether it's a small batch release, whether it's a single cask release, something that is much more potentially pure, something that is much more about representing a distillery character, something that bypasses the large-scale vattings and the heavy dilution of many distilleries that are out there that gets you much closer to what the distillery actually makes. This is not going to be the best whiskey I've tasted this year, perhaps not even close, but this is possibly the best Jura I've tasted, certainly the best modern Jura. It's also one of the most interesting. This isn't a beginner's whiskey. There's lots going on here. This is odd. One minute it's dark cherries and dark chocolate. The next minute it's shoe polish and brine. This is quite a challenging thing, but you can see I'm enjoying this whiskey. This is an interesting Jura, and that's my first kind of moment of 2020 where I could sit and contemplate something from that idyllic distillery over there on the Isle of Jura. If you've never been there, you need to imagine a distillery that's almost, if you were building like a model railway, let's say, there isn't a railway at Jura, but you can imagine that little tight village with a hotel and a general store, and a little car park out front and a beer garden and tables and umbrellas outside, and just a lovely, and this distillery, this almost idyllic, gorgeous looking distillery right on the shoreline there. It's gorgeous to look at. It's amazing to see. And now I've got something that they have made from that distillery that is actually very, very interesting. This is a cask strength product, so it's 54.3%. This is part of the Elements collection from Douglas Laing, their old particular Elements series, and this represents water. So I was drawn to it as well. I tasted it at the tasting. I realised it was a good Jura, but I was also drawn to it because the water of life. Okay, water just kind of resonated with me a little bit. And this was a good, enjoyable 12-year-old product from Jura. That's my first whiskey moment. Drop in here. Sounds like Whiskey Quest is almost there, says Steve A. Let's have a wee look. If I click on that link, what will happen? Brings me into the whiskey. He's only 5 subs away, according to my latest feed here. If I do a quick refresh, 995. So if we could just have 5 more subscribers to Antonio over in the States, that would make him a very happy man to close out the year. I have no doubt. Fantastic. Thanks, Steve. Andy C is saying Whiskey Quest 9946 to go. Jimmy Legg is saying that is what independents are for, making us rethink what a distillery can produce. It's a different take on it, of course. It's not something, you know, it's usually an interesting cask or a good cask or something that is compelling in its own right. But it's nice when it has something about the distillery that is more accessible, more something that you can determine that you perhaps don't get from their official bottlings. Perhaps because their official bottlings, honestly speaking, especially when it comes to Jura, are looking at a different market. It's a price point thing. It's a supermarket whiskey, or it's a low ABV whiskey where they're diluting it down to make it more accessible, whatever reason. Unfortunately, there's far too much fuss going on with Jura. It's complex and it's constantly changing. There's travel retail and there's weaker product and it's difficult to keep up. But there are people out there that do love Jura. There genuinely are. So don't dismiss Jura. Please go in and try, as I encourage you to do with any distillery. Don't listen to just one man's opinion. Go and try it and listen to your own palates. Everwind is saying, ahoy malt mates. Good to see Everwind. Andy C is saying Whiskey Quest's 1,000 subscribers. Let's see. Let's do a wee refresh on his page. He's going to be happy. Let's raise a wee glass to our friend over in the States, Antonio, and say congratulations on reaching 1,000 subs. Antonio, believe me, buddy, I know how much that means. Cheers, my friend. Thank you. Whiskey Central is saying, I can't help feeling grateful this year. Thank you for the dram, Shayla. She's saying, so happy to have found you and these other amazing people through your channel. Shayla, we're very, very grateful to have found you too. Thank you very, very much for your virtual dram. And Daniel Caballero, I'm saying Caballero, it's maybe Caballero, has bought me 10,000 somethings. I don't know what his message is, but whatever currency that is, I'm not sure, Daniel. But regardless, thank you, my friend, for your virtual dram. Pleasure to have you in here, Shayla, and you, Daniel. Thank you. Cheers. Donald Pass is saying I've been able to taste lots of distilleries that don't have distillery bottles through independence. Absolutely. And Pete Head is saying, oh, it wasn't Pete Head, it was David Owen, saying the only Jura I like is the Superstition. And you found one that you like. Whereas if you were prejudiced against Jura just listening to me, you might have never found the Superstition. So go ahead with your own ideas and your own open mind. Stevie is saying Evo, Colombian peso. So you are in Colombia, Daniel. So I guess in Colombia, I think it is Caballero. I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly, my friend. I hope I am, but thank you very much. Jimmy like is saying that 10,000 may be another Brora. Would be amazing, Jimmy, right? Would be amazing. So that was a good way to start with a nice, comfortable, virtual tasting where I was able to taste along some independent bottlings from Fred Laing. It was a really interesting night as well. You remember Fred Laing. Fred Laing was on a vPub just at the start of lockdown, and he was a wonderful guest and gentleman to have on as well. Fantastic. Let's move on to the second one, and I'm going to talk about another gentleman that came on from the industry, and he was the first distiller. He was the first whiskey maker to grace the vPub, and that was probably the moment in the vPub where it went from just being like a social information exchange and gathering and hangout to our whiskey geekery just went nuts that night when Michael Henry from Loch Lomond stepped in to talk about his swan neck stills, to talk about his straight neck stills and his column stills, and to talk about his peated spirit and his unpeated spirit, and to talk about all of the things that's available to us from that distillery up there in Loch Lomond. It was an amazing session. You might remember that we'd been able to do a socially distanced meetup in a car park earlier that day, and he was able to hand me a couple of samples to demonstrate some of the things that we were going to be discussing that night. Chad Kiso is in. Chad, good to have you, my friend. He said here's to 1999 worries that were only if our computer would work the next day. That's right. 20 years ago, the Y2K Millennium Bug. Let's forget all of 2020 except Kilkerran 8. If you're talking about the cast strength, that was actually released in the end of 2019. So we can't even thank... it might have landed with you in the States, of course, in 2020, of course. Chad, you're absolutely right. But yes, that's a good sentiment to have, to look back on the good whiskies that has happened this year. Chad, thank you very, very much for your drama, friend. Cheers. And that's Daniel, it looks like, has bought me another dram. Greetings from Colombia. I can't drink today due to health reasons, but I'm having Glen Scotia Victoriana on December 31st. Nice pronunciation of my last name, by the way. I only know how to pronounce in Castilian Spanish, so I'll say muchas gracias, mi amigo. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to just raise this glass and say thank you for your dram. I'm sorry to hear that you've got some health issues, and I hope that you recover very, very soon. It sounds like you're planning to recover for Thursday evening, and I hope that you do enjoy that Glen Scotia Victoriana. It's a peach of a whiskey. Very, very bold, very overt, but wonderful, and exactly in line with what I'm talking about right now from the same group. Daniel, thank you very much, my friend. Slanchiva to you. To your health. I'm going to get through these drams tonight. Wow. And Tim is saying that was a great night and helped explain why Loch Lomond 12 is such a unique bottle with all the different things going on in that whiskey. Loch Lomond has got such a distinctive thing in its standard spirit, and the wonderfully fruity Inchmurrins, the nice and dark and broody take on a peated whiskey that the Inchmoan brings along. Just gone through a rebranding to make it a bit clearer, I think, a bit easier to understand as well. Everyone, to be honest, there are so many highly regarded whiskey and reviewed whiskies that I have not tried that any Jura searches would be very low in the priority based on the feedback. I understand what you're saying. I don't think many releases from Jura are pointed at us, honestly, everyone. But we hold out hope. P-Head is saying, no, let's not forget 2020. If it wasn't for this year, I would not have so much connections and friendships maybe. Please look positive. Absolutely, Pete Frank. That's kind of what I'm going to try and get across throughout the theme tonight. I agree fully, and I'm very grateful to call you a friend too. Dermot Hoyne is saying, yanked up a few of your bin coins, Aquavitae. Did miss out on my no pairing, but that's the luck of the draw. Number pairing. Dermot, if you want to get in touch with me, I've still got some... I wonder if yours was the one that went missing, Dermot. I'm just having did we have a discussion by email earlier in the year? Please contact me by email directly. There are still a few nice numbers that are available, and I might be able to make your end of year before it closes out, my friend. Get in touch with me, Dermot. Thank you. Precarious Davis saying, quite agree. I have a social life I never knew I needed. Thanks, vPub Barflies. Dave, you don't know how much I feel the same. My first memory of this year was a man standing in front of his bins with empty bottles. You tramp, I thought. Listen, actually, if you thought that, can you imagine what my family think about me as I stand out in the driveway next to that bin and film that thing in front of a camera? Yes, they are a wee bit worried about me from time to time. Andrew Butler is saying the Jura I mentioned is a single cask at 55% ABV, so not doing badly. So there are, and if Andrew Butler is connecting with Juras, and we were talking about a guy here, an Andrew Butler, that is very experienced in whiskey tasting. Lee Jose Haddington Whiskey saying Ralphie launching a Loch Lomond 12 box across the bothy is YouTube gold. Ralphie's given us amazing amounts of YouTube gold over the years. Fantastic stuff. Anyway, this is the whiskey that came along that night in one of Michael Henry's sample bottles, and he gave it to me for a reason, and I didn't appreciate the reason at the time, but I do remember my reaction to it. It was one of those wow moments. It was the fruit. I was drinking Loch Lomond. The flight I had in front of me with the samples were Loch Lomond samples. And this was unpeated, but the fruit just popped. It was quite incredible. It was like a zesty, confectionery, juicy fruit gum type fruit thing, that sherbet and the texture. Quite amazing. To the point that I gifted one of these bottles, and I thought I had kept another in reserve. And then I promised a second one, thinking it was still sealed, and went searching for it and couldn't find it. I actually gifted it to the Glasgow Whisky Club, and instead by mistake gave them a Loch Lomond single cask. Luckily, Michael Henry came to the rescue and pointed out I'd given them the wrong bottle after I'd shared a label to get more details. I did manage to pick up another one of these, so I do have another sealed bottle to give to the Glasgow Whisky Club, but this is what's left of that whiskey. This is a Loch Lomond using wine yeast, Chardonnay yeast. And what this did for me is that you might remember Daniel Whittington from the Whiskey Tribe was on the vPub earlier in the year, and he talked about being a distiller gave him access to a new way to enjoy whiskey and flavours in whiskey, because he could start to taste whether the flavour came from the malt, from the production of the spirit, from the cut points, from the fermentation, from the maturation, from whatever it was. He could start to appreciate where that whiskey picked up that flavour, that note. I found that very interesting. And this is a perfect example of that. Me tasting that fruit, for it to be so vibrant and so profound in contrast to the other Loch Lomonds that I was tasting that night. And that was the first thing I commented on. And Michael was pleased to get that feedback. And it ended up being this release. This is Loch Lomond. This is the one that they released for the Open Golf Tournament Special Edition this year. One of 3,000 bottles, 12-year-old single malt. Doesn't talk about the yeast on the packaging, of course, but we know through tuning into the vPub that this Loch Lomond is using wine yeast, and what a revelation it is. If you want an example to understand what yeast, and specifically what certain types of yeast can do to lift or change or alter a whiskey, this is a fantastic example of that. And that was a privilege to get access to that in advance and know that that was an easy choice to buy. And you can clearly see how much I'm enjoying that wee Loch Lomond. 46% ABV. Wasn't expensive, £50 thereabout for a 12-year-old naturally presented limited edition product. It was easy to buy. Radek is saying, not only your family, Roy, your neighbours too thought you were crazy. I remember at the end of your video, and my neighbours think, what the... Yes, absolutely, they do. And I've actually I've been mid-filming and neighbours have come walking down the driveway saying, what are you doing? And I've had to explain, and they just kind of look and say, aye, okay. Multi-mission Menno is saying the Michael Henry vPub was probably my favourite of year. The openness and willingness to talk and share his info was unheard of, I think. I think we've seen that from everybody that's appeared since as well. I don't think you would appear on the vPub unless you were willing to be open and candid, not to this audience of knowledgeable folk. McCallum Fine Rare Doc is saying the backside talks about the yeast, Roy. Does it? It does. It talks about Chardonnay yeast and fermentation. Doc, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm not going to try and read this out because this font is ridiculously small for old eyes like me. This is the type of thing that would have Ralphie reaching for his steampunk punker magnifier, but it does. You can probably take a screen grab of that when it focused there. It does exactly talk about that. The straight neck pot still, Chardonnay yeast fermentation. Doc, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very, very much. But yes, Michael was an absolute treat. You might remember he was even brave enough to step forward and participate in the blind challenge a week ago as well. Quite amazing. Dermot's saying, yes, Aquaviti, we had an easy broken time in email exchange back in easier times before the pesky tariffs kicked in hard. Good, Dermot. I'll be able to help you, my friend. Reach out to me by email and we'll get you sorted. Dogs Have No Uncles is here. I think that's Colin. It mentions Chardonnay yeast on the box. It is a wonderful dram. Glad you're enjoying it, and I'm glad you pointed out that the sleeve talks about it. I do have another one here because I bought a replacement so that I could give... Here it is. Here's the tube, and here's the replacement for Glasgow Whisky Club as well. And there is a lot more information on the tube. Excellent whiskey. Hope you get a chance to get a hold of it where you are. Actually, saying fantastic openness from all the producers I remember hearing from in the pub. Absolutely, I agree fully. It's almost like an unwritten rule now that they come on and they're not drinking a product that they made. It's not part of their own portfolio. They're drinking something else, because that's very disarming and endearing and honest, because we can see that they're first and foremost whiskey enthusiasts. Of course, they're going to talk about their own brands, their own products, what they're making, what they're doing. It's inevitable. But so much of it is the fun of it is being a whiskey enthusiast first and foremost. That's what I find interesting. Eric has bought me a dram saying, hi, hey Roy, a plus side to another lockdown is although my business is closed, I can make vPubs live again. Of course. I know what you do. You need to be in the same room as people, don't you, Eric? Sipping one of my favourite whiskies this year, Glencairn 15. Thanks for an amazing year of community and whiskey. I remember being able to chat to you over video as well, Eric, and it's a pleasure to have you in here again. Whether you watch live or on the replay, my friend, I hope your business opens so that you're having to watch on the replay very, very soon. And in the meantime, thank you very much for your dram, Eric. Very generous of you. Slanchiva. I'm going to end up having to top these up. I've just sipped from my whiskey of the year, and it's lovely whiskey, lovely whiskey. Alison McPherson saying, all of your guests have been stars in their own ways. I learnt a lot from each of them. I'll bring up another one of my guests right now as I move on to my next whiskey moment. And I'm going to suggest that this guy was one of the most matter-of-fact, down-to-earth, honest, blatantly honest guys that I've had on the vPub. It was Billy Walker. He was clearly the guy in charge. He was making his own decisions. He's going to do his own thing. He was talking a wee bit about his past, but we focused on his future at Glenallachie, and he talked about what he'd inherited, what he wanted to do, what was important to him, and how he saw the future panning out. Fantastic guy to listen to. Fantastic guy to have contributing towards the vPub. Everyone's bought me a dram as well. Aquavita Unibarf Valleys did a wonderful job helping me keep my sanity and connected to the world. Much thanks, greatly appreciated. I think if I summarise well tonight, everyone, at the end of the show, I think that's what I'm going to touch on. We've all faced challenges this year, and I'm sure that loneliness, isolation, feeling a bit disconnected, feeling a bit out of control, or not having any control, things like this have been a genuine lifeline for some of us, and I'm talking about myself more than you might imagine. Everyone, always a pleasure to have you in, my friend. You've been here from the very beginning as well. It's great to have your support. Thank you for your dram. Cheers, everyone. I know you talk about sailing a lot, fair winds and things, but I happen to know your vocation as well, and I can't help thinking of space exploration when I see your name in. Of course, I'm talking about what Billy Walker is doing at Glenallachie. Now, I don't have my favourite Glenallachie. I've gifted what's left of the bottle. There was a wee drop left. I was tearing through it. This is the 9-year-old rye cask. This is one of the original ones, I think. No, this wasn't the Koval one. This is one I bought actually for Billy Walker appearing, 48% ABV. And this is their 15-year-old. I've been sharing a lot of this because I've got a lot of friends out there that love that really dark, deep, sweet, rich. So if you're talking about like really kind of cherry notes, dark, sweet sherry, there's PX in here, and you can taste that kind of syrupy sweetness. And for people that really like, I've got one friend very close to me in mind that really like that type of whiskey, this goes down a treat with them. My favourite Glenallachie, that's the best value, and to me, honestly, it's the best whiskey experience from Glenallachie, is their standard 10-year-old, the cask strength version. It's not expensive, it's wonderfully presented, changes every time batch by batch, but not by much. It's always great and engaging stuff. But you can buy, it feels like to me now that you can buy any Glenallachie and know that you're going to get a good product. Some of it is very cask forward. Honestly, what they're doing with the product that they've inherited, they're being very inventive with their cask maturation in order to bring variation to the range, which makes sense because that product has always existed to be a component for blends, so it had to be consistent. So in order for them to make a varied range, they've got to use cask manipulation. They've got to use innovative wood releases, let's say. But they've managed already to put out a fantastic amount of releases, more than any other distillery that I can think of that's just come on stream very recently, and yet still keep things clear, keeping it obvious what the differences are. You can tell a Glenallachie when it's a single cask, when it's a limited release, and when it's core release. The branding is nice and clear. Even although a lot of us don't love this kind of font and things like that, I have to say it's grown on me to be, I'm fairly ambivalent about it now. I like what Glenallachie are doing, but honestly, I can't wait to see what comes in the future when we are actually able to taste some of the stuff that Billy is making up there with his extended fermentation and all the experimentation he's doing. Everything is coming out natural presentation. He's not doing any added colour. 46% minimum. This one here is 48. Lots of cask strength releases, including the 10-year-old. Honestly, they were, Glenallachie, the team at Glenallachie, they were in the running for my producer of the year. They didn't get it, but it was one of my whiskey moments of the year. And I really enjoy what Glenallachie are doing. Billy Walker is a Scotch god. That was a great episode, Roy. And Graham Fraser is saying, that was everyone, and Graham Fraser is saying, I wonder how Glenallachie will change once Billy's distillate is matured and bottled. Exactly that. There's no doubt that it's going to change. But I think what we're going to see is much more of that lovely, deep, rich, fruity, estery spirit coming out. Maybe they'll be able to bring us something that can just sit quietly for a number of years, 8, 10, 12 years in a refill cask and really display what the actual Glenallachie spirit is like. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. Jean de la Cuisine is saying, I got Glenallachie 12 this year because Ralphie named it his whiskey of the year. I liked it, but I think I expected a lot more of it with it being hyped up so much. That was interesting. So the 12-year-old Glenallachie that Ralphie named whiskey of the year was used ex-bourbon, first fill, and some PX in there as well, I believe. It was a sweet whiskey. But I think Ralphie did the right thing there, because what he was able to do with that 12-year-old, I mean, he had to pick something from the standard range, and he's obviously going to pick something that's accessible and people can buy, which I think is the right thing to do. but he was able to bring a torchlight and shine it on the 12-year-old and light up the whole thing that's happening at Glenallachie under Billy Walker. I think that's why Ralphie might have done, rather than hang his jacket on that 12-year-old whiskey, but focus on what Glenallachie was actually doing. Just my thoughts. That was the year I did the Arran 14. I nominated Arran 14, and Trenny and C, interestingly, did a Ralphie versus Roy. I won't spoil which one they picked. But you can go and watch that Trenny and C video, Ralphie versus Roy, to see which of the whiskey of the years they picked as their favourite. And I think it would be interesting for them to go back and do a retake on that today. Watchman999 has bought me a virtual dram as well. No comment, my friend, but I'll raise a wee glass just to say thank you for your virtual dram and Happy New Year when it comes. Nice to have you. Cheers. You're a familiar name to me now. Although I don't know who, I can see that you're in Canada. That helps a wee bit. Ben Demon Hunter, sorry, my mistake. Alistair Gray saying Aquavita highlight for me this year was Billy Walker sending me a PM on Facebook wishing me a Merry Christmas. Great man. That's very nice, Alistair. Getting private direct messages from a whiskey maker to wish you a Merry Christmas. Excellent. Simon Ray saying to health, to friendships, and to a better 2021. Slancher Roy and barflies everywhere. Simon, thank you very much. You're going to have me drinking too much tonight with these virtual drams coming in. But Simon, I'll say slancher to you as well. Thank you very much. Already running behind, so I'm going to clip through this as fast as I can. Move very quickly on to another visitor I had coming into the vPub. Thought she was wonderfully disarming and honest. Great fun as well. And that was after our time at Distell and going off to work at Glen Moray. We had Dr. Kirstie McCallum in as well. And I bought this in advance of her appearing. This was her first release. And this is actually the reason that I reached out to Kirstie to say, you're going to be celebrating your first release. Maybe there's a broadcast out there where you could come on and talk about that and talk about the changes that you want to make at Glen Moray. We're all very interested. And she just replied back straight away and said, aye, I'm doing nothing else. I'm happy to do that. And she came on and it turned out that she literally lives yards from here. She's only a couple of 100 yards over the top. And we had a really nice night. And what we discovered with Kirstie as well is that she's very matter-of-fact, very pragmatic, very laid-back and good fun. And she talked about this idea, and you can see by the releases that's coming out from Kirstie, they are not what we've come to expect over the years from Glen Moray. There's so much of the Glen Moray range that is the classic range, for example, that is a price point whiskey. It's a supermarket whiskey. Nothing against that, nothing wrong with it. People love it and rave about it, and they're very grateful to be able to buy it for 20 and 25 pounds, sometimes less. Then they've got their Heritage series, which is much better presented, their 18-year-old and things. And then they've got things like this. And you can see, again, I've been thoroughly enjoying my time with this Madeira cask project. A 13-year-old product came out at 46.3%, interesting choice of ABV, and natural colour. And it says it on the label. It also says non-chill filtered. Things that's very important to Kirstie. She's realised the transformation that those policies have had at Distell. And she's tried to bring out releases from Glen Moray that can realign our focus and our perception on that distillery. And it's certainly worked for me, and I know that it's worked for a lot of you guys out there as well, because I see your social media and I detect that you're starting to speak about Glen Moray in a slightly different light. And I think it's got so much to do with these releases coming out, these super interesting takes. In my experience, you had to go along to Glen Moray to pick up the distillery exclusives before these, to have easy access to other things that Glen Moray were capable of doing, or pick up a Glen Moray from so many independent bottlers out there. But wouldn't it be nice if we got it from them, their take on the best foot forward that they could put? That's what I'm hoping for from Glen Moray in the future. Lunaran saying, I really like their releases at a higher strength from sweet wine casks. Also wonderful single casks, Glen Moray, that is. Yeah, Whiskey Radar is good to see you, my friend. I think that's Roland. He's saying, I think Glenallachie is overdoing things a wee bit with their 1001 different finishes a bit. Hard to keep up with their releases, a bit like Highland Park, too much of a release flood. So where Highland Park are doing releases and it's thousands of bottles and confusing things, and I know that they did lots of single casks and things as well in more recent times, what Glenmurray are doing is that they're experimenting. And you will see that confusion, the confusing flood onto the market in recent times, I believe, because they are not able to welcome people into the distillery. And this is not just exclusive to Glenmurray. This is going to be the case at Glendronach and Tomatin and so many other distilleries. That you're not able to go in and buy these much more kind of niche, low volume whiskies from visiting the distillery visitor centres because so many of them are closed. So what you're having to do now, and even when things lightened up, there weren't tours on and things like that. So it was much less appealing to go and visit these distilleries. So even if their store was open, they were still opening all of these whiskies up to be bought online. So they were just kind of launching stuff that would just be packaged and to be sold online. I'm not sure if I'm speaking out of turn for Glenmurray, but it's just an opinion from me that's going to be more of a thing. And DC is saying, picked up a couple of her releases from Glenmurray Distillery. Really impressed in what she has released in a short period of time. More great things to come, I hope, in 2021. I feel the same way. Ryan Sutherland has bought me a dram. All the best, and thanks to you. Thanks for your efforts this year. Absolutely my favourite channel. Ryan, that is absolutely my favourite kind of comment. If you were here in real life, I'd be giving you a wee hug to thank you for that virtual dram. And Klaus Bowling, I think I've pronounced your name somewhat correctly, Klaus. Enjoying sitting in the vPub from time to time. Have a happy and healthy 2021. Slancheva from Germany. Klaus, thank you very, very much. I'm going to clip through a couple of very fast moments before I share with you the best whiskey I've sipped this year, bar none, the most compelling whiskey. Unfortunately, it's not something you're going to be able to buy, isn't it always? But I want to talk about it, and I think the producer behind it is quite interesting as well. And I also want to talk about the crunchy subject of how much I paid for it, because I paid way, way, way more than you might imagine. So the first one I'll pick up is from a producer that gets a lot of flack, and honestly speaking, quite rightly so, more often than not. But there's lots of things that they're capable of doing very, very well. I'm talking about Diageo, the biggest, they own 28 distilleries out there, the biggest producer in Scotch whisky. Bizarrely, they have so many distilleries that I absolutely love. I love Lagavulin, as you know. I love Clynelish, as you know. I love Dalhuin. I love Taninic. I love Benrinnes. I very much enjoy Mortlach. So many distilleries, the list goes on and on, that are under the stewardship of Diageo. And they do, from time to time, bring out official releases that make you stop and say, now that's good. I have to say that I've settled on my favourite special releases of 2020 as being the Cardew 11. I think that has ended up playing out to be the best. The Lagavulin is excellent, but I didn't buy a bottle. I bought the 2019 instead. It was a wee bit cheaper. I also bought the Talisker. I'm still struggling with the Talisker. It's rum cask. It's got this bizarre sweet note in it. Maybe it'll develop over time. It's been a while since I've gone back to it. But I bought this, and this is a fantastic, fantastic thing. This is a 20-year-old Cragganmore. This is a whiskey that is usually pretty tricky to get product from Cragganmore. But it was the price of this. This is cask strength Cragganmore at 20 years old, 55.8%. And I paid, I think, £120 for this. This is from a producer that we love to knock. And this is 20-year-old cask strength single malt that's been selected specifically to represent that distillery at its best at that age for the special releases in 2020. It would be difficult for me to compare it. You can't compare them in terms of age and things. Both Speyside distilleries, Cardew and Cragganmore. It would be difficult for me to decide which was going to be my favourite, but I have to be honest and say that on price alone, that steals it. 20-year-olds for £120. And I love that so much that I have another bottle. And in fact, is that me on my second bottle? No, I don't think I am. I'm sure, I hope I've still got a backup bottle of that in the cabinet. It was fantastic whiskey and fantastic value. And it just shows that Diageo are capable of bringing out things that's fantastic and still decent value too. One more to mention before I get to the best whiskey I've had. This was one I tried at an event that was the biggest virtual event that, honestly, that you've seen this year. It was the Whisky Show Live, run by the Whisky Exchange, Sukhinder Singh and everyone. And it was amazing. The amount of content that they put out during that show, it would be difficult for you to get through all the content. Honestly, it was amazing. All the producers, all the spotlight events, all the guests that they had on, all the topics they were sharing. It was an amazing event. And one of the events that they had was the Kilkerran tasting. And I managed to taste the Kilkerran 16 for the first time. Shortly after that, the Kilkerran 16 was finally released. And this is a contender for Whiskey of the Year, but you can't buy the thing. So it has to be Whiskey of the Year, has to be something that you guys can buy and participate in and share. Unfortunately, people are going to lengths to get a hold of Kilkerran 16. And I have to say, it's worthy. It's very worthy. If you can happen upon it, if you can track one down, get it. I paid less than £60 for Kilkerran 16. And it's 16-year-old naturally presented product at 46% ABV. Wonderfully Kilkerran, and yet different from the 12-year-old, drier than the 12-year-old. There's a syrupy peach sweet note that finishes at the end. You can taste the 16 years in this. It's a fantastic whiskey. But that, going alongside that amazing and huge scale virtual event earlier in the year, was another moment for me. Kilkerran 16 was probably my most anticipated release. I just wish, don't we always wish this about Springbank and Campbelltown, that they could have released a wee bit more. Klaus is saying, would you recommend the Kilkerran 16 for €100, even if Glengyle says it is only £56 worth? It's hard. It's €100 because of its rarity. It struggles at that price point, honestly. It's any 16-year-old would have to be fantastic to be worth €100. I imagine that's around £90. If it was me and I couldn't buy it any other way, I would probably, because I'm such a fan of Kilkerran, I would reluctantly, with gritted teeth, pay that, Klaus. I don't know if that helps you. But what that does is it means that the whiskey then has... it's got to work harder and it's going to struggle. It's a fantastic 16-year-old Campbelltown. Fantastic. Is it a fantastic €100 bottle? Probably not. Helen is saying, thoroughly enjoying the Kilkerran 16, and Chris Pollack is saying, I managed to get it in Vienna before it sold out there as well. Well done, you guys. I've scrolled down. There's a super chat came in from Antonio Whiskey Quest. Roy, I was in the middle of work and got word that I got a wee shout out. Bless you, my friend. I hit 1K subs. Here's a little something to buy you a virtual drink. Thanks to everyone that came on board. Cheers and Happy New Year. Antonio, I'm very grateful that you're thanking me, and I'm very grateful for your virtual dram, but fully your thanks has to go to this amazing community. They all jumped in. Some of these guys will not have heard of you. They will not have heard of your channel. Hopefully they can connect a wee bit, and hopefully, with a bit of luck for you, Antonio, they'll stay a while. Thank you for your virtual dram, my friend, and I'll let you get back to your work. That was nice of you to drop by and say thank you. I know how much you appreciate it, and I know, Antonio, how much it means to you. Cheers, Antonio. Cheers. Yash has bought me a dram as well. I discovered the vPub in 2020 and even managed to win a sniper coin, so it wasn't all bad. Thanks for all the fantastic content. You're a legend, Roy. Yash, you are a legend too. Thank you very much for your virtual dram. I'm all over the place with these drams of the year. Probably sipping too much whiskey. I have no commitments on tomorrow. It's a day off for me. But I'll raise it a glass and say thank you, Yash. It's wonderful to have you here supporting. Cheers. On the nose, on the palate, blind, I know exactly which of these 5 I'm sipping. Anyway, I think it's interesting that 2 of my favourite whiskey experiences from this year are 2 whiskies that I would not normally connect with. One of them is from a distillery I love, but this particular release is extreme. And the other one is from a distillery I really don't like at all. I don't like at all. That's too extreme. I don't connect with. I've had fantastic whiskies from it in the past. I've enjoyed the whiskey from it in the past. But the modern representation of the distillery I'm talking about, I don't connect with. But these two whiskies in front of me are from an independent bottler. And they are lights out fantastic. And they are also overpriced. And yet I bought both. Let me get to that. Andre Willis saying, just popped my Alistair's Kilkerran 16, so thanks, chaps, and slant you. That was the Kilkerran 16 that Alistair Gray donated, and we shared amongst the community. Real, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you think it's amazing. Everyone is saying, you bring up an interesting point. I wonder how loud or silent are the owners of Diageo with all the distilleries, what is released and how it is made. I think as time goes on, Diageo are they're not exactly a company that's going to adapt very easily. But let's imagine the Flora and Fauna range, if they just upped the ABV of Flora and Fauna, that wouldn't step on the toes of any of their core ranges. Natural colour, unchill filtered, charge us a few more pounds, or, it's small batch anyway, so. And then all the other distilleries that are represented by core range slip there into the Flora and Fauna range as well. Make Lagavulin available at 46% at 16 years old, maybe. Or, I don't know, a different take on Lagavulin, a different take on Kalila, a different take on so many of the distilleries out there. They deleted Mortlach Flora and Fauna and released it as a core range, as part of their core range, extended classic malts, whatever, and it was a mess. And their Flora and Fauna 16-year-old was dearly loved. And they lost so many fans of that amazing, bold and unique distillery that they have up there in Speyside, that it wouldn't take much for Diageo to easily cater for the enthusiasts, fans of those distilleries, and not damage their core range at all. I don't think it would be a difficult balancing act. Flora and Fauna is already a well-established vehicle for them to do that. I made the point in my video when I released the video a long time ago. It's fantastic, but it could just be a wee bit better. And I very much feel the same these days. You have amazing distilleries out there, Diageo. What you could do for the whiskey community would be... Thanks, Roy. John Bell says he's bought me a dram. I appreciate your even-keeled approach to all things Scotch. What a great outlet for people that are obsessed with it. Cheers. I can't believe, John, that people are willing to come along and listen to my waffling and monologuing, but I do very much appreciate it. I do love to have so many of you here. I'm going to tell everyone as I raise this glass to say thanks to John Bell, slancha to you, and tell everybody the two best whiskies I sipped this year. These are not my whiskies of the year. You can't buy these. Even when you could buy them, they were ridiculously overpriced. This is a 15-year-old Longmorn from North Star. 15 years old. And I think I paid something like £140. It's far too expensive. But I got to try it. It was recommended to me by Jason, the editor at Malt Review. I know you're a fan of Longmorn, Roy. I've just tried this. It's really special. There's another one that's just come out, and I'll touch that in a second. Just a heads up. And I went back to him immediately. I says, well, why are you recommending this to me? The price of it? Yeah, I know. But it's good. Okay. So if the editor of Malt tells you that it's good, you pay attention. And I bought it, but I was nervous and I kept it sealed. And then I got to try a sample of it. Sample's done, the bottle's getting opened. It's amazing stuff. Look at the colour of this whiskey, even when it's down as low as it is. So this is distilled in 2005. It's bottled from a single Oloroso sherry, but at 15 years old. When you read that on the label, you think you know what you're going to experience when you sip the whiskey. It's just a sherry bomb. I know all the flavours in a sherry bomb. I know what it's all going to be about. But not all sherry bombs are the same. And this is standout. This is lights out. Prime Whiskies bought me a dram in Swedish krona, it looks like. You are a legend. Thanks to you, I started my own channel. Well, congratulations to you, Prime Whiskey. Don't blame me for however that goes. I wish you the very best of luck with it as well. I hope you do well out of it. And I'll raise a wee glass in the meantime, my friend. I don't know what your name is, and say thank you for your virtual dram. Slancha to you, and good luck with everything you do in the channel. Cheers. I guess people must look and say, wow, that looks easy. Whiskey Weekend Dram is saying P-O-E-H. Harrow is saying Poe. Well, that Longmorn is great. I have a sample. I don't know if the sample was from me, Harrow, but I guarantee you, You have to take some time to pour that, sit down and savour it. It is incredible. And the editor of Malt sips on a 1970s Bruichladdich on a weeknight at that. Yeah, don't get involved with Jason in discussions about Bruichladdich or Jura or various other things. You can talk to him openly about Turmore, apparently, though. Jimmy Legg is saying, if you didn't want to open it, the level is sure low. Jimmy, but it's not just about, it's been hard for me this year because the whiskey disappears faster in a normal year, but people aren't able to come to the house. So quite a lot of the drams that's gone from this have been shipped, posted out to people to share. And everybody that I've given this to has a wee quiet moment of contemplation as they sip it. It is incredible stuff. And I have to say, from the exact same range, both of these recommended to me by Jason. I didn't buy this one, I did not. But I sat in on a tasting of North Star Spirits, actually a charity event. Ralphie was there as well. It was a collaboration between Ralphie and North Star. And the guy behind North Star, who's usually quite quiet and shy, was there as well. And I found him a fascinating guy to listen to and hear about his story, how North Star came about and things. And I don't know how long his mojo is going to continue, that he's able to find these amazing casks and bottlings. And it is quite amazing what he's been able to do for a relatively new independent bottler. But this is from a distillery that I don't connect with. Honestly, I don't. And this was even more expensive than the Longmorn. This is Bowmore. It's an 18-year-old Bowmore. It's a cask strength, 55.2%. I think this is why people rave about Bowmore, what it's capable of. And I'm talking about old Bowmore, old school Bowmore. The tropical fruit notes in this, the bizarre switch from savoury to briny to sweet and back again. Every sip is switching and changing up. And I mean, it was just sublime. I've read reviews on this since, and people talk about it being a mango bomb, and I get that completely, that tropical note. But for me, there's a fruit that I've not seen in a long time, and I've not even tasted since I was in my early 20s, guava fruit. That ripe guava is the flavour that is in this whiskey. And it's not just a note, it's not just something that sits in the background. This tropical fruity note is shouting at you. This is whiskey that makes, you cannot sit and have a social conversation when you sip something like this. It's very difficult because it is so communicative. It is literally grabbing your attention every sip. It is quite incredible. This came up because somebody, Sevi the alchemist, the enabler that he is, said, Roy, there's a bottle of this in this shop. I know you're after it. I put it aside for you. I told my wife, and this is what I unwrapped on Christmas morning. I got to taste it on that evening with Ralphie and Ian and Chiara from North Star, and now I've only had 2 drams out of it, and I know this is going to be one of those whiskies that I take down ever so slowly and carefully. I'm never going to be able to replace it. It is amazing stuff. Thank you, wife, for buying me an amazing present. Thank you, North Star, for having the courage to put an 18-year-old Bowmore out there at that crazy price. But sometimes when you get to try before you buy, wow. Red Sox is saying, I think that's Andrew. I'm always guessing that. I'm sure you would correct me if I'm wrong, Red Sox. He's saying, a wee dram to say thanks, Roy, for the great content this year. Roll on 2021. Yes, I hope that we're able to keep bringing decent vPubs for you throughout 2021 as well. Thank you for your drama, friend. Cheers, Andrew. I don't know what dram that is as well. Doc is saying it's almost €300. It was £180 in the UK, 170 to £180. Neil Cogran is saying, Aquavita, I always love how an indie bottling comes along and blows my prejudices apart. But it's frustrating, isn't it? Do we need to pay Bowmore £180 to get that quality directly from them? I mean, what is it? Bowmore is capable of making that. This is only 18 years old. We're not going back. It's not like a 30, 40, 50-year-old Bowmore. We're not going back to the 60s and the 70s Bowmore. We're not going. It's this millennium. It's tell you on here. Distilled December 2001. Bowmore are capable of making an experience like that. Neil, the next time we meet, I hope that I've remembered to put a wee dram of this in a bottle for you to let you try it, if you haven't tried it already. Alan, Whiskey Friend is saying, Agavide, got some great drams there tonight. I've not even started yet, Alan. Wait till I get into the 5 for my whiskey of the year. It's not 5 whiskies of the year. There is only one, but there's 5 worthy to talk about. I'm tearing through the time. I need to get into one of my guests and play a wee game to break up the pace a bit here of, is it a Speyside? Multi-Mission is saying a successor to the Teapot Dram Batch 7 then. I don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, you can't get it. There's plenty Teapot Dram out there, but there isn't much of that if it's the Longmorn that you're talking about. Actually, saying Hamden, 8-year-old Jamaican, pot still rum, guava bomb, and I eat guava every year. I would like to get my hands on some guava. I haven't even seen it in the shop for so long. They're really kind of pungent aroma if it went overripe on the shelf, I seem to remember. Jimmy Legg is saying, it's not a prejudice against Bowmore. I've tried a lot of OB Bowmore and no, just no. It's not against Bowmore. It's not against the amazing distillery. It's the same for Jura. It's the same for other distilleries out there. It's against the bizarrely engineered thing that they managed to put out there. Maybe for a price point, I don't know. Greg's Whiskey Guy is saying, no, Roy, there are 12, 50-year-old independent bottle of Bowmores that are great. And for instance, Elixir Distillers did a bottle, some great ones in Elements of Isla range. Isn't it a shame, Greg, that we've got to go to the independents to access good Bowmore? Neil Cochran is saying, that has made my Christmas, Roy. You need to hold me to it, Neil, because I will forget. Joe Prestera said, which regular bottlings would you recommend? From Bowmore, Joe? Honestly, you have to go to some of the higher ABV, less fussed, more natural. So if you go for like a Tempest, Devil's Cask is super expensive, but it is good. There are releases, official releases from Bowmore that are decent. But it's the 12-year-old, it's the 15-year-old, it's the 18-year-old that are just kind of like, oh, really? Bowmore, this is Bowmore. Whiskey Games is saying single cask bottlings are great, but cannot reflect what is possible on a large scale from the distilleries. Exactly what we've been exploring throughout the vPub all this year. The idea to bring these casks together, to marry them together, to make something that should theoretically, Matt, be something greater than the sum of its parts. Have you had any Ardnamurchan yet? Thoughts? Excellent whiskey. Can't believe it's that good at 5 years old. There's no point in me recommending Ardnamurchan because unfortunately you can't get it. Hats off to Adelphi. They did their best. They brought out 17,000 bottles as their first release, priced it at a fair price, £45, but it's evaporated. It's gone. I hope that it's not gone to be ornaments everywhere. Unfortunately, I can't speak because my Ardnamurchan is sitting here as an ornament. I've been lucky to have 3 or 4 samples of this, but this is doing nothing other than getting opened at some point. It's a great whiskey. And I hope that you get a chance to get it wherever you are. Who was it that asked? That was Watchman 999. So I don't know if you'll get a hold of it, but if you can, I fully recommend. Just don't pay over the odds for it. Know that it was sold at less than £50 in the UK when it came out. David Owen is saying, what about the Tempest range? It's good Bowmore. I did mention the Tempest, David, absolutely. Hoyt is saying, just popping in to say hi. The Bowmores and Juras are appealing to those that pick based on brand. I agree, but I also suggest that it's probably so often focused on price. You know, Bowmore 12, the non-age statement Bowmores and things, they're often very, very inexpensive. That's not where that brand should be. Absolutely not. Okay, let's reach out to my friend from the States, guy I got to meet last year. I got to meet him and his newlywed wife. Give me a thumbs up, Jonathan, if you're good to come in. Yes. Welcome behind the bar at the vPub, Jonathan. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. My throat's gone already. That was quite a lengthy monologue. I appreciate your patience waiting in the background there. I want I want to mention just quickly why I've reached out to you to come in for a wee game of Visit a Speyside, and thanks for stepping forward. Jonathan was involved in participating in the technically and let's say delivery flawed blind challenge that we set up last week, and you won yourself a blind challenge in the chat, didn't you?
I did.
So we offered this up. We asked a question, and Jonathan answered, and he won himself this pack. Interestingly, Jonathan, you're putting together your own blind challenge using very, very similar whiskies and a similar concept, and you've decided to do something else with this package.
Absolutely. I saw that Andrew Pierce said in the chat last vPub that he had not tried any of them. So I figured that he would, it'd be a much newer experience for him. So Andrew Pierce, if you're on the vPub, I'd like to donate it to you.
Fantastic. I've not spotted Andrew's name in tonight, but he's a regular, and I'm pretty sure that he'll be picking it up on the replay. If I think I've got Andrew's details. If I don't, I'll connect up with him directly. But this is those 5 samples that we tried, Andrew, but it's also structured in the exact same way as the blind challenge. So even although that you know what they are, you will still go through a lot of fun and challenges, playing along and trying. You can do it on the replay, or you can do it quietly on your own if you like. But there's a blind challenge courtesy of my friend Jonathan Flowers coming down to you, and I think that's a wonderful gesture, Jonathan, and it just part of the generosity and the sharing that makes this community so amazing. So thank you, buddy, and thank you for thinking of Andrew.
Absolutely.
You're home early from work to play along for a wee game of Visit a Speyside tonight, right?
I am, yes. Yeah, all the sea urchins are fed, so we are good to go.
Okay, out at work, of course. Now, you've been on and you've played before. You played earlier in the year, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
How did you fare? Did you win or lose back then?
I won. And ironically, one of the whiskey you picked ended up being one of the whiskeys in last week's vPub. So,
remind me,
Glenfarclas 105.
Glenfarclas 105, and you won with that.
Yes.
I've had it. That's been on more than once. It's been on more than once. So before I go and ask you what you're playing tonight, whether you're asking or answering, give me a moment. Pick a whiskey moment from 2020, and I hope I'm not springing this on you. Have you got something in mind that you can share with us? Obviously, I'm hoping that it's positive, Jonathan.
Yeah. My biggest, I thought of a couple things. You mentioned the Jura. I have a good friend who started, I introduced him to Scotch whiskey, or whiskey in general, and he fell in love with this Jura. You know, the Provenance, 46%, 11-year Jura, and it was the most amazing thing he has ever tasted. And, you know, I picked it up for $35. So I thought about that. I think personally...
Wow. And again, that Provenance is another Douglas Laing release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's opened up very well. But I think my biggest one would be I started brewing because secretly my dream is to open up a distillery one day. So before you distill, you have to learn how to ferment. I'm actually drinking my winter ale I made, and it's been very interesting because barley, the type of grain you use, is so important. The type of yeast, the saison yeast, you know, and more farmhouse ale, Quebec yeast, and it's just all these things that are so important in brewing, but in distilling is only becoming popular.
Yes.
You know, paying attention to the yeast and the type of grain. So it's just being plunked right in the middle of this movement. It's been fascinating.
Fantastic. I look forward to getting together and trying some of that winter ale, or perhaps some of the summer ale, whichever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And I'm making some heather ale right now. I think it's a 5,000-year-old recipe. So doing that for burn supper.
There's a heather ale on the market here. It's called Frioch, I think, going from memory. You can buy a heather ale here. So it's interesting that you're making it out. Are you allowed to distill at home for personal use or for personal? No, not in Canada.
No, you're allowed to brew though.
You can brew, yep. It sounds similar to here. I know that in some other countries, New Zealand, for example, they can actually actively distill at home. But no, we're not there yet, I guess. Jonathan, my friend, I'll ask you, are you going to be answering tonight? Do you need me to have a bottle on hand, or do you have a bottle on hand? Which do you want it to be?
I would like you to get a bottle, and I will be asking.
Thank you, my friend. I get a wee night's break here. I did prepare a couple of bottles earlier, and I'm going to reach for this one and try and keep it out of shot. Keep it out of camera shot to you. Oops, did you? I hope you didn't see that there. I think it sneaked into shot.
No, I think I was taking a sip of my beer. I missed it.
I guarantee you that someone has spotted that. I guarantee that somebody in the chat has spotted that. Okay, I'll pull up the wee counter and I'll add this to the stream. Jonathan, I'm not going to set a timer or anything tonight. It's you that's asking, so I'll just go ahead and wish you luck.
All right. I forgot. I went through trying to figure out new ways of asking, and I think I forgot what I was going to choose. So I'm just going to go with, is it on the Scottish mainland?
Oh, nice one. Yes.
Okay. Is it north of Glasgow?
Yes.
Okay. This was is it a Speyside?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Is most of their core bottlings 46% or higher?
No.
First one that pops out to me is Glenallachie, but I don't think you'd have that. Let's see. Scottish mainland. I'm just gonna have to start stabbing here. I am unprepared.
Well, I think if we're north of Glasgow and it's not a Speyside, we have to be in the Highlands.
Yeah.
And we know we're not in all of the islands because you've established it's on the mainland. We know that they're not putting things out at natural 46%. The strength of this one is, yes, below that. So we're there so far. So try and cut things in half. So if we're north of Glasgow and we're not in Speyside, the Highlands is quite widely spread. So let's chop it up. Western, Eastern, Northern, Southern Highlands, whatever you want to do, if I can help you a wee bit.
I'm trying to think. I think my options would be Dalwhinnie, Glenmorangie. So Glendronach would be included. So that's out. I'm trying to think of all of the 43 percenters or 40%.
6 questions left. No problem.
Is it located? Is it within the Cairngorm?
No. It's not Eastern.
Is it an Oban?
Yes.
Is it an Oban 14?
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's from nowhere, coming straight on in and plucking it from absolutely nowhere.
You gave it to me with, no, it's not an Eastern Highland. It's like last time you said sometimes it has an age statement, which, the Glenfarclas 105. So I feel like I've almost cheated.
That's no problem. This is a kind of mini. Well, we didn't call it a celebration because 2020 to call 2020 a celebration would be a bit out of touch, I thought. But in this one, it was about being a wee bit generous, and I don't mind if I led you to it a wee bit. There's other things in the west out there, and the kind of Loch Lomond. It could have been a Loch Lomond. It could have been many.
That's below Glasgow, isn't it? The latitude.
Loch Lomond.
No, I guess that would be above.
Yeah, it's north. It's north. It's not far north of Glasgow, but it is a wee bit north. And Oban is further up and further west than that. So there you go, an Oban 14. So I wonder who was the first to steal Oban 14. It started to come in. Desi Vleeland looks like she answered. Oh, Whiskey Games Matt answered. Multi-Mission Menno might have nicked it. No, Neil Cochrane is ahead. Can anybody get in before Neil Cochrane? It might be our friend in Glasgow, actually, Neil Cochrane, that's managed to nick himself. And it's Sniper Coin on Oban 14. Jonathan, thank you very, very much. How is Zan? Is she doing well?
She is doing very well. Yeah, she's done with work for today, and so she is seeing her best friend, and I'm on the vPub, so it's a win-win situation.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Well, my love to Zan. And if you've got the time and if you're relaxed and you're comfortable in the vPub, stay and I'll bring you in for the quiz at the end, my friend.
Absolutely, will do. And Zan says hello. She gives her best. I forgot to say that.
Excellent. Wonderful stuff. My love to Zan as well. And I'll look forward to seeing you at the end. And it was a pleasure to get to hang out with you over a dinner table, believe it or not, in a restaurant last year. I'm very much hoping that we get back to those days sometime soon, Jonathan. Nice to welcome you in and well done on sniping and a wee game of Visit a Speyside. You've won yourself another coin, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers.
How generous was that of Jonathan as well to donate to Andrew Pearce? His blind challenge just struck into a conversation with Andrew, and Andrew, you're getting yourself a wee blind challenge, and Jonathan's getting himself a sniper coin, as well as potentially Neil Cochrane may be the one who won that one there. Not sure if anybody got there before him. I've got another wee game of Visit a Speyside that I'll use to break up things a wee bit later. I want to just go quickly into talk further about my producer of the year. It was easy for me last year. Kilkerran was the lazy choice. My goodness. It suddenly became the coolest distillery in town and everybody wanted to get their hands on a Kilkerran. They came out with the heavily peated and the Richard Oloroso 8-year-old last year, and they just blew the doors off the place. Everybody was in love again. This year, they've brought out more of their wonderful 12-year-old. And to my mind, it seems to be getting better, honestly. I seem to be enjoying the 12-year-old Kilkerran more and more. Could have been easily a contender for Whisky of the Year this year. And Kilkerran could have honestly been easily a contender, and they are a contender, honestly speaking, for Producer of the Year. Talked a lot about Glenallachie there. I very much believe that Glenallachie could have been a Producer of the Year. I think that, honestly speaking, Anok, I know it's Inverhouse. I don't want to talk about the other things within the Inverhouse stable. I don't want to talk about Speyburn. I don't want to talk about Balblair and the rebranding. I don't want to talk about Old Pulteney. I want to talk about specifically Anok. Anok are still bringing amazing things to us at reasonable value. But more than anything, they are out there putting natural colour and non-chill filtered up front on the label and bringing it at 46%. And again, as I say, amazing value. But it's not Anok. My runner-up for Producer of the Year this year is Loch Lomond. It's a marvellous transformation that we're getting to enjoy at Loch Lomond. The stuff that's coming out of there is getting better and better and better all the time. So many releases are coming out and firmly presented for the enthusiasts. As I said earlier in the stream, the wonderfully fruity Inchmurrins, the deep, dark, broody Inchmoan peated varieties. The standard Loch Lomonds are coming out amazing, and they're amazing value too. I talked about on vPubs throughout the year. I'm talking about things like this 12-year-old, which is absolutely amazing. I'm talking about their 18-year-old, and I'm talking about Glen Scotia as well, and their Victoriana, and so many other expressions. Glen Scotia 15, the non-age statement, Glen Scotia double cask. Loch Lomond Group are bringing amazing things, and they are bringing amazing things that are more and more getting closer towards things that we as enthusiasts can celebrate. The only thing that stopped me from saying, yes, Loch Lomond is my Producer of the Year, is the fact that they've still not gone the final hurdle. They need to get that reliance on caramel colouring behind them. They need to move forward. There are things happening there that is getting better. They've moved down at least another 2 steps, I hear, and they've moved into clear glass and they're rebranding too. These are positive things, and they're getting in the right direction. And just that nudge forward. And we've got one of the most unique, one of the most complex, one of the most interesting producers from nowhere. Who was talking about Loch Lomond 5, 6, 7 years ago? It's almost like a new distillery to us. It's a complete transformation. and we need to see more of that. It would be amazing to be able to nominate Loch Lomond in the future. But this is quite easy for me to nominate this producer as my producer of the year, because they just keep bringing it, and it gets better the more they mature as well. Wonderful to have this producer out there, and of course I'm talking about Arran. Arran out there on the Isle of Arran on the west coast of Scotland, my producer of the year for what they're bringing to the whisky landscape right now. You might be aware that Ralphie has just nominated Arran 10 his whisky of the year. Wonderful shout, and deservedly so. Look at it, 10-year-old whisky for £30, £35, easy accessible whisky, but it's 46% ABV. Yes, it's non-chill filtered, and it says on the label, it's natural colour, and it says on the label, and it's got a nice big age statement there too. Nothing to talk about. Amazing stuff. This is their sherry cask. Anybody that watched the vPub, it was a hectic vPub, the blind challenge last week, honestly speaking, but they would have noticed how amazing the sherry cask, non-age statement sherry cask from Arran has done, and how well it did against things like Aberlour, Abuna, how well it did against Glenfarclas 105, how some people picked it ahead of things like Teapot Dram. And this is a cask strength, exclusively mature, sherry matured single malt Scotch whisky for £50 to £55. Suddenly, we have an alternative to Aberlour Abuna out there, and it's amazing how many people chose this, really quite high up in the rankings from Arran. This is their 21-year-old. I might be talking to you about the 18-year-old a wee bit later as well. I have not opened this new packaging of the 21-year-old, but I fell in love with the super complex, it's one of these drams that switches up dram by dram, sip by sip, the previous packaging 21-year-old. And I'm keen to tear into this and explore this as well. And whether I enjoy it more than the previous 21 or a bit less, it doesn't matter. I'm confident to pay the money on this product because of the range, because of the things that Arran are bringing us, because they're putting these statements on the label, and they're being as transparent and making the best whiskey they can and presenting it as best they can. This is accessible and it sings to enthusiasts, but honestly, the Arran range, you can pour it for anybody to encourage them into whiskey as well, and it's accessible to them too. This is an amazingly sweet and accessible 10-year-old. Arran are bringing it, and if anybody wants to have a wee argument with me that Arran somehow don't justify being marked as anybody's producer of the year, I would be excited to have a wee discussion with you, because I think they fully deserve it. Fantastic stuff. And I think a lot of producers out there could take some notes from Arran's simple, straightforward, easy to understand, easy to access presentation, and honestly, price points as well. Querty Arvark is saying, looking forward to a store-picked 21-year-old single cask Arran I picked up in Texas. Sounds amazing. I would love to hear how you got on with it. Drew from Arizona, great to see you. And Drew, good to welcome you. I saw an Arran 14 in the old bottle for sale here and wondered if you would recommend that older version as well, Aquaviti. That version that you're talking about, Drew from Arizona, Drew, just go ahead and buy it. If you like delicate, bourbon-influenced, quiet, well-balanced whiskies in teenage years, who doesn't? The Arran 14 is easy. It was my whiskey of the year in 2018, and I have no regrets about picking that product. My only regret about that is that the Arran 14 has unfortunately temporarily been discontinued. I hope it comes back. I felt it was the best point. Alan, a whiskey friend, is saying, I love that Bodega. I took 5 takes to review this. Nothing wrong with the first 4 takes, just kept sipping it. Even at cask strength, 55% plus, I think that one is. Very easy to get along with, Alan, absolutely. Simon Ray saying, I promise you'll love the new 20 more, even more than the old one. Wonderful to hear, Simon. Graham Fraser is saying, still curious what your previous whiskey of the years were, Roy. 2017, I took a bit of flack for it because I nominated the Lagavulin 12 of 2017. I loved it. It was the thing that took me back to Lagavulin. It was the thing that took me back to a place that I remember Lagavulin connecting with me in a very, very kind of really, really deep place. And that 2017 expression with all the kind of lovely texture, the lovely spice, it's peaty. It's a very powerfully, overtly smoky whiskey, full of peat. but it's very easy to sit past the peat. So Lagavulin 12 was a bit pricey, a bit expensive for my whiskey of the year, but I couldn't see past it in 2017. 2018 was Arran 14. In 2019, just last year, you'll see it over my shoulder. Santa is sitting on top of it. The amazing value for a 15-year-old, exclusively sherry cask matured Glendronach 15 Revival. I know it's the new version with PX involved. Some people prefer the old, some people prefer the new, honestly speaking. But they're not the same whiskies, they are different. But you can't deny the value of the Glendronach 15 Revival, and that was my whiskey of the year last year. I'll get on to what my whiskey of the year is this year, and I'm sorry to tease you out, but it's just the way it's structured, it's just the flow of it. That's going to be nearer the end. You can watch this on replay if you don't fancy staying up too late, but I guarantee you that they are amazing whiskies. Actually, saying aren't they the best distillery in the world? Graham Fraser is saying, still curious. I mentioned that one, didn't I, Graham? And that's a new name. It looks like from Japan, Kiyoshi Fukui. Kiyoshi Fukui is in. I usually can't catch your vPub lives due to time difference and being on a work day, but always enjoying your informative videos from Tokyo, Japan. Wow, I think that is the first time I have been bought a virtual dram in Japanese yen. I'm a huge fan of Japan. I love my time in Japan in the 90s. It affected me for the rest of my life. It was a privilege to have been out there. And I'm very grateful to you, Fukui-san. Welcome to the vPub, and thank you very much for your virtual dram, my friend. Cheers to you. Wonderful stuff. Chris is saying, let's see if we can hit 1 a.m. tonight, bud. We will go late, there's no doubt, but it's the last vPub of the year, and there's going to be a break. I'm going to take a wee break in the start of January. I'm going to take some time with the family and things while the kids are off school. So it'll be late for me to start up again in January, only a week or so late, not too long a break. So we can relax a wee bit tonight, knowing that there are no ads and the vPub is not monetized and you can watch it on the replay with no ads at your leisure. And I very much welcome and appreciate that. If you are willing to stay here, we've got another wee game of Visit Speyside to go through. We've got the quiz at the end, and of course, whiskey of the year. But Chris, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so anybody that's interested to talk to me about Arran, to give us a bit of feedback of their experiences with Arran, or if you are having positive experiences, if there are Arrans that you've not connected with, please share it with your fellow barflies in the chat. I'd be very interested for me to go back and read everybody's reaction. Let's reach out to one of the barfly community that's taken us all by storm this year, and he's been on the vPub to play a wee game of Visit Speyside before. But the only person I was thinking about reaching out to play a game of Visit Speyside at the last vPub of 2020 was the Sniper King. And if he gives me a thumbs up to let me know he's okay to come in again, it would be amazing to welcome back Kresimir, my friend in Croatia. Buddy, it's nice to see your happy face again. It's nice to welcome you back. Just for kicks, tell us, what's your coin count now? How many sniper coins have you won through 2020?
I'm now on 14. So but I'm even. I have 7 at home, and I gave 7 away to the community.
So you've got 7 yourself. Enough sniper coins to easily cover a flight. I've got a sniper coin here. I'll show exactly what I'm talking about here. These are the sniper coins. This is what we play for. They're exclusive. They can only be won on the vPub. So you either play here live or you play along in the chat. But Kresimir has won 7 for himself. He's won another 7. You have some kind of I don't know. Is it telepathy? Is it a time machine? I don't know what it is, but you're amazing at it. You even won as recently as last week when Sevi had the Springbank 12, right?
That one was for Bruno Martins.
So that one's going to Bruno Martins. Okay. So I think he was second, right? You guessed first and he guessed second.
Yes, that's why I nominated him.
So I've got one here for Bruno Martins because I gave away 3 coins last week, and I've got one here for Kresimir. So is there anyone else that Bruno's got his? His is secure. He doesn't know he's getting it yet, but he's getting it. Is there somebody else?
So I don't know if Daniel Vermas has it.
Well, Daniel's in tonight, so if he doesn't have a sniper coin, it's Daniel's coin then, right?
To the big guy, Bud Spencer.
For Bud Spencer, absolutely. For our friend over in Hungary, our Dutchman in Hungary, Daniel Vermaas from Kresimir. Wonderful stuff. You're a very generous man, Kresimir, winning all these cool wee coins for other people. So if you want somebody...
I have a good mentor in sharing, so...
who would that be?
My man.
Absolutely everybody in this chat, my friend. Superb. Thank you so much. Can I just make a wee digression and step off to the side a wee bit? There was some bad news, obviously, that came out of Croatia with the earthquake this evening near Zagreb. You're safe.
Yeah,
everyone around you is safe.
Was away from the earthquake, but we also felt it here in Dubrovnik. But I mean, it's a horrible end to this horrible year.
Yes.
Yeah. Few deaths, few casualties. Lots of houses were ruined because they were made in 19th century, so they weren't built up. They weren't built up for such a huge impacts. It was like 6.2 by Richter, so
quite a big. And quite an ancient city as well, Zagreb, yeah. Unfortunate to hear, very unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm very glad to have you here. I'm glad to have you safe as well. Are you ready? Have you got the focus trained? Is everything ready? The rifle is polished.
Hope so.
Are you playing? Are you asking me, or would you like me to ask you?
We're gonna finish the year strong, so I'm gonna ask you.
You're gonna ask me.
Yeah,
this is amazing. This is a treat for me. So, okay, I have a bottle. Kresimir, I'm going to not try to show any of this time right outside the shot, but I just want to make it clear that I'm not changing my mind, that this is going to go here, and this is the bottle that we're playing for. Excellent. This is it makes it easy for me for a change on the last one of the last vPub of the year, not to have to tax my wee brain so much. Kresimir, fantastic. I'm going to pull up this screen, start you with 10 questions. Wish you the very best of luck.
Thanks.
Go right ahead, Kresimir. Go right ahead, Sniper King.
I'm going to use that Dalwhinnie point. Are we below Dalwhinnie?
Yes.
Are we in Highlands?
Yes.
Is it a Glen?
No.
It's not a Glen. Does it have an age statement on it?
No. This is why he's the Sniper King.
So it's a Highland, no age statement. Below Dalwhinnie. Are we talking about Dinston?
Yes.
Is it a virgin oak?
Yes. There we go. Let me pull this, get rid of this. There we go. Quite unbelievable. You make it look so easy. Here's me thinking that I'm doing really, really well to win all of these sniper challenges. But in the end, the Sniper King steps up and kicks it out of the park and makes it look that easy. I don't know if I was kind to you picking Deanston Virgin Oak, but
I think you are.
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the direction that you go. You went south of Dalwhinnie. Is it Highlands? Is it a Glen? And is it non-age statement? The perfect 4 questions, snipered each one in order to tune right in there on Deanston, and on a non-age statement Deanston that is clearly going to be the Virgin Oak. Quite look at the chat, lighting up with the sniper emojis. Quite incredible. What a celebration, Kresimir. Unbelievable. So you won yourself coin number 15. I don't even think the other guys, Che Francis and Menno and the other guys that have won multiple coins, they're nowhere close to that. It's incredible. Are you keeping this one?
No, I'm not going to keep it. This one, it can go to Radek Stejskal.
Radek, fantastic. Fantastic. And Radek is in tonight as well. Wonderful stuff. Stejskal, would you pronounce it?
I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to butcher it.
Yeah, I tried my best there. Stejskal. Radek, my friend, you've won yourself a sniper coin. It's nice to have a buddy like the Sniper King and the lounge. And anybody that's playing along and you don't quite get it, I think Menno's multi-mission. I think it was Menno, actually. He was the first that I saw to say Virgin Oak in the chat. Maybe somebody got ahead of him. But anybody that's thinking about and that they're maybe not getting there, they're not getting them quite quickly enough, all you have to do is befriend Kresimir. And he's going to be winning so many coins in 2021. I guarantee you he's going to be able to win you some as well. Your ability at this game is quite frightening, my friend. Whether you're answering in the chat or answering here, it's amazing to see. 15 coins is quite incredible for a game, by the way, that only started in April this year. So
I'm
it's not
surprised.
And you're not that long in your whiskey journey, only a couple of years, right?
5 years.
5 years in.
And I was surprised when we were talking about our whiskey of years, and I was surprised to have 3 no age statement in my top 5 whiskies.
Wow.
So it would be like the Abuna 66 Aberlour, Glenallachie Teapot Batch 7, and the Talisker 57. And all of those were provided to me by the community. And that's the reason I didn't buy the Glenallachie Teapot. It's kind of on a pricey side, but some really nice picks. Luna Aran gave me a sample of Talisker 57. I was just, I have to get a bottle of this. Another Croatian guy gave me a sample of Aberlour, Abuna, and I told myself I have to buy a bottle of this.
This is the thing. If you either try before you buy, or you can go on a recommendation from a trusted barfly, a friend, somebody that you trust, that it's almost like a try before you buy. And that's exactly what the community is fantastic at.
And also, Menno is guilty also for some bottles. James Burgoyne as well. Yeah,
there are a lot of enablers in the lounge tonight. Honestly, you have to be careful. Too much whiskey, not enough money, not enough liver. Right? Graham Horner, Whiskey Works. Graham I think he's in Northern Ireland. He's saying here's a bit of help to cover postage for all those coins you're sending on Kresimir Jelcic's behalf. Good job. Thank you very, very much, Graham, for your drama. Thank you. Before I let you go back and hang out in the green room there, give me your whiskey moment of 2020, Kresimir, if you have one.
It wouldn't be a whiskey. It would be this, what you created. And especially when we were all in lockdown, you gave us a second vPub. And that is, I didn't think that I'm going to share samples with guys from Belgium, Scotland, England, Germany. That was not my intention at all, but this is like a locomotive. This is like a big party that goes on and on and on. So that would be my highlight. It wouldn't be the whiskey. Whiskey is just, it's not just, it's a liquid that we all love, but if you're drinking it all by yourself, it's not it. That's not it.
Kresimir,
when I have like sample of like small bottle of this, so this is like 0.025 milliliter. If it's something really good, I try to give it to my best friend. He enjoys whiskey, so I'm sharing even these small kind of samples.
Absolutely. Kresimir, it's difficult for me. It becomes emotional when I hear that kind of thing happening, because you have this kind of idea that it could connect people, that it could touch people, that it could bring people together. That maybe the way that it affected me, the fact that that's happening, whether it was through lockdown, whether it was through the community just growing and growing over time, to have people like you, somebody over there in Croatia that I've connected with, I feel like if I met you in real life, it wouldn't feel like an introduction. It wouldn't feel like I've just met you. It would feel like reuniting with an old friend. And that's true of literally dozens, maybe hundreds of people in this chat. It's been an absolute lifeline for me and a privilege to just be part of this thing. For you to have got something out of it, for so many people to have got something out of it too, I'll never cease to be grateful for it. And I will never tire of saying those words either. So if they start to grind on you or make you fed up hearing it a wee bit, maybe it's time for you to move on. But I am very, very grateful. I'm grateful to everybody. And Kresimir, I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to your contribution. I'm grateful to your spirit. And I'm a wee bit jealous of your skill at the game too.
You're good at it. Come on.
Buddy, thank you so much. I'll raise this wee glass and I'll say congratulations to the Sniper King on his 15th coin. Thanks for being part of the colour of this community over the course of 2020. And if you will stay till the end, my friend, I know it's a wee bit ahead where you are. I'd like to welcome you in to participate in the quiz as well.
It's Menno's quiz, so.
It's Menno's quiz. It's your buddy's quiz, right? Kresimir, Sniper King.
Cheers.
Good to see your happy face. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. Absolutely amazing stuff. I did not ask Menno to say that. Richard Agnew saying, Achroy, you'd bring a tear to a glass. I've yet to shed a full tear on a vPub, but it's maybe going to happen one day. Whiskey Games Matt is saying, I'm proud of my one Sniper coin. Thanks, Roy, for a great 2020. I hope it won't be too long before my own Whiskey Society can meet up again in person. If you need any help with that, if you'd like me to announce and let other people know when it's happening, if it's people that's in here, this community, Matt, please let me know. I know that you and Lee and various other people over on the east coast of Scotland manage to meet up and get together. Neil Laverty, another guy in Northern Ireland, saying, tried to buy Anna today from Amazon. Now not shipping alcohol to Northern Ireland. This Brexit customs nonsense must be kicking in. Neil, I hope that doesn't continue. That's nonsense. That is nonsense. It's the United Kingdom we're talking about. Jimmy Legg is saying, I'm really starting to hear how much I love Kresimir Jelcic, sorry. Kresimir Jelcic. Stu Baby saying, evening, Roy. Do you have a blend of the year? I do. That's easy for me to answer. It would be difficult for me to pick between the two, but I'll probably go with the Artist's blend from Great King Street Compass Box. It's a wee bit more expensive, but honestly, it's a very adaptable blend. It's easy to sip neat, wonderful whiskey to sip neat, and it makes an amazing whiskey to mix as well. A wee bit more expensive, but you sometimes pay a wee bit more for that extra quality. Hellswood is saying, you've come close, lol. I have, Helen, and you've been watching. Rombout is saying, ladies in still here. Good to see you, Rombout. Good to have you in another vPub. Jan Paul van der Hoven is saying, beautiful words, Roy. And I. Listen, I'm going to close out tonight, and I will find it hard to hold it together when I close out tonight, because it is emotional. It's difficult. Okay, Kresimir is in saying, thank you, guys. What I need to do now is just go on and just quickly summarise and not faff about too much, talking about my whiskey of the year. But there are 5 whiskies in front of me here. 5 whiskies. I know which one that is. It's very overt, very obvious. I'm going to put that there. And there is one of them that you're actually encouraged to sip it as a mixer. Jerry Miller has bought me a dram. He said, message me the quiz answers so I'll look smart. I'm participating tonight, Jerry. I am not hosting the quiz. Menno's coming in to host the quiz. We're all at Menno's mercy. So, buddy, I'll take your $5 for strength, but I'm very much going to be playing against you guys too. I'm potentially looking at a red face tonight. Jerry, thanks for your dram. Cheers. And actually, he's bought me a dram. Here's to you, weeping before the night's out. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You've had me singing on a vPub. You might have noticed the out of tune, crazy closeout of last week. But let's not have me shedding tears too. Actually, thank you very, very much. And also thank you to my friend Jerry Miller as well, looking for answers to the quiz. Cheers, Jerry. Cheers, actually. So I'm hoping I can make this wee cocktail out in a thermos here. I've got some ice. All 4 of the other whiskies in my whiskey of the year runner-up list, let's say 3 of them, because one of them is actually the whiskey of the year, are very, very similar. Very similar. This is different. This is Nicknean. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nicknean? It's a brand new distillery. It's 3-year-old whiskey he's talking about. Absolutely, it is 3-year-old whiskey. And the reason that I put this forward and considered it, we've been talking all year about concepts like secondary market. We've been talking all year about relaxing about whiskey, not being too snobby about it, making it as accessible as possible, bringing people into whiskey. Excuse the noise this will be making. All of these things. We've been talking about that natural presentation doesn't need to go against that. 46% ABV in order to provide unchill filtration, non-chill filtration doesn't need to preclude that. It doesn't need to be at odds with that. We've been talking about the difficulty that producers have trying to not have their whiskey going straight onto the secondary market for ridiculously high prices. By the way, the same producers that still limit their outturns when they could bring out more. We've been talking about all of these concepts like they're difficult to achieve. This is much more difficult to achieve, getting this. All I'm going to do is drain this and then pour the ice into the glass straight. And I'm sorry about the noise that that's clearly causing to your ears. If you're listening on headphones, I apologise. So here we have a whiskey that is, it's difficult for me to articulate just how amazing this is as a concept. The whiskey has to be good too, so let me get to that. This is a brand new single malt from a Scotch whiskey producer. And on the side, they encourage you to mix it. They're talking about their favourite drink. They say drink it as you like, but our favourite is a whiskey 6, which is 2 parts Nicnean and 4 parts soda. So let's give that a wee try. I don't have a cup tonight, but they're talking thirds, aren't they? 1/3 Nicnean poured slowly over ice. Does that look like a third to you? There's some ice in there. And I'll top it up with soda. Now, I'm drinking it as a mixer tonight, but I have to tell you this is the first time I've done this. They say that this makes a fantastic highball. But all of this so far, I've sipped neat. I've also had the chance to try various samples of this before I managed to buy a bottle. Now, much like Ardnamurchan, much like Waterford, much like various other new distilleries that released this year, Dornoch, this quickly sold out. Batch 1 disappeared. Nicnean could have just sat back and said, "Oh, that went well." Immediately, they went out and released Batch 2. They pulled forward the Batch 2 release and put it out there at the same price. Batch 3 has been released, and they're currently outputting Batch 4. Same recipe, the same whiskey, trying to get the whiskey out there as much as they can. And each batch, it says on the bottleneck here, it says it's 5,000 bottles. So they're already, by the end of the year, early January, 20,000 bottles since their launch back in, I think, August, September time. That's significant. They are not trying to drive up secondary market demand on this. They're trying to put this whiskey in the hands of whiskey folk. That should be applauded. They are producing from organic Scottish barley. They are producing, and their target is to have a carbon neutral production out there in the Morven Peninsula and the west coast of Scotland. They are producing and putting it out there, presenting it in a recycled bottle. By the way, that's the first time I've ever seen clear glass, recycled clear glass. Yeah, it's not as pristine. It's a bit kind of mottled and things. I don't know if that's part of the recycled glass thing. And it's, you know, you could argue that it's a wee bit more like a gin bottle, but this is whiskey. I don't mind the presentation. It looks quite good. It's a 70 cl bottle at 46%, unchill filtered, natural colour. It says on the bottle, no age statement, but of course we know it's 3 years old. And they put it out at less than £50. They encourage you to sip it neat, and they encourage you to relax, and they encourage you to mix it. If you sip this neat, you will enjoy it. It's not going to be the best whiskey release. You could argue that Ardnamurchan's better. Dornoch is much better. You could argue that, you know, there are other whiskies out there that's better than it and cheaper. But these are from established mass market producers. This is from a grassroots, brand new labour of love distillery on the west coast that's bringing something as lovely as this at 3 years old. Yes, I would prefer it had less STR casks. I want more bourbon cask in there. I want to taste more of the spirit. I want to taste less of the tannic things and some of the... Yeah, there are, but come on. The things that we ask for as enthusiasts and the things that we seek in order to bring people into whiskey, knowing that things like ABV and snobbery are barriers, they are literally removing every barrier, every complaint, every objection we have. They're making two different types of product. They're making one that they can sell as young whiskey and one that they're going to keep to mature for longer by changing things like production and cut points. They're experimenting with yeast strains. They're using 100% Scottish sourced organic barley. Literally, it's like we can't ask them to do anything more other than bring good damn whiskey. And if we judge them at 3 years, we're making a mistake. Enjoy it at 3 years. Consider it a work in progress. The price is accessible. And as the years tick by, watch how it develops. As we start to access less of the STR influence and more of the bourbon influence, more of the whiskey that's been laid down for longer term maturation. I wanted to take a moment and celebrate Nicnean and what they've achieved. Because yes, Ardnamurchan is a better sipper at 5 years, half peat, half unpeated. It was a fantastic release. I've got one over my shoulder here. Amazing whiskey. But why would I talk about something you can't buy? You can't buy Ardnamurchan. You can't buy Dornoch. You can't buy Bimbers anymore. You can't buy these new distilleries. Nicnean are making sure that you can buy their product. I want to wish everybody at Nicnean the very best of luck for the future. I like what they're doing, and I hope to be part of the whiskey folk that get to witness how it develops going forward. And here's my first sip of a Whiskey 6, a Nicnean highball. Cheers. Roland Whiskey Radar. That's excellent. This is my favourite whiskey drink. When I'm in Spain, I can't drink beer. I get fed up, and this is my default thing I go to. This is lovely. I don't know how much of the Nicnean I can taste, but I can tell you that I've made highballs, I've made whiskey soda drinks with malts that just don't work well. This is clearly works perfectly for that. If this is the type of thing that you like of an evening, that 6 o'clock bell rings, and this is, I can tell that I would probably put more than a third in here. I would like the mix to be a wee bit stronger. Let's give it a try. I maybe let too much of the ice melt while I was gassing. Whiskey Radar Roland is saying, I saw it marketed online by the producers at a slightly lower price for customers who would choose to buy it without the box for environmental reasons. Where is it? It's here. Here's the box. There's another batch in here. This is a nice wee box, but you can see how I would prefer not to have the boxes on anything. I would like all the information to be on the bottle. I like to see the color of the whiskey. I like to see the levels as it's open and dropping down. I don't like it to be in the box. If I tell Nicnean for my next purchase that I don't want the box, thanks, it's £2-3 cheaper. And it cuts down on waste. Listen, Ardnamurchan need to be applauded as well. They had a very similar attitude towards cutting down on packaging and sustainability and all of these amazing things. Our only job in this world, come on, is to leave it in a better state for the next generation, for our kids, than it was for us. And I don't think we're doing a very good job of that right now. And we can make all these tiny little incremental decisions. And if we don't need that fancy packaging, if it doesn't actually bring any value for us, Nicnean are offering you the opportunity to delete it. And not only will they do that for free as a free of charge option, they'll discount the whiskey. This is showing other producers, established producers out there, a different way of doing things, a different way of thinking about things, a different attitude, a different sense of responsibility. And I think it needs to be talked about. I'm very, very pleased at what they're doing. I hope you guys are enjoying Nicnean too. Cheers. Precarious Davis saying, this box thing is important. Recycled review with box waste on the side. Exactly. We could maybe talk about that. Too much packaging. Elsewhere is saying, Andy's been on JW12 with ginger ale over ice and lime slices. Nice, easy drinking and very fresh, refreshing. Absolutely. Now JW12 is going to be a lot cheaper than Nicnean. I'm just saying that there is something here that could, as the start of the flight, I've had, this is Nicnean in this glass that I've been sipping alongside completely different whiskies that are doing a completely different thing. And I'm not saying it's holding its own, but it's a very good contender as an opener for a flight. I hope I didn't miss a virtual dram as I was doing all of that monologuing there. I did a dram from a friend up the road in Helensburgh, Willie Dolier, who managed to get a blind tasting pack. Enjoyed it very much last week for his birthday. Cheers, Willie. Thank you for your virtual drama, friend. It's nice to have you in. I'm missing you, big guy. I hope you're doing well. So let's talk about the other 4 contenders for Whisky of the Year. And the last one will be my Whisky of the Year. We've already talked about them tonight. This is Loch Lomond 18. I almost put this forward, as I did these other 3 that are going to follow, as Whisky of the Year. This is a wonderfully unique thing. I guarantee you, I don't care how deep your whisky collection is, if you've not tried Loch Lomond 18 specifically, and you put it in your collection, you will have not tried anything else like it. It is overt and bold and powerful. It's very funky, sometimes sour, sometimes challenging, sometimes a bit industrial almost, and sometimes just so seductively different. And sometimes when you're sipping samey and you're looking to switch it up a bit, this does that with an amazing amount of aplomb, honestly. It's one of my revelations this year. I would never have considered going for a Loch Lomond 18-year-old as recently as maybe even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But here's the crazy thing. This is 18-year-old single malt Scotch whisky, 46% ABV. I've talked about Loch Lomond. They need to tell us when they finally get to that point of natural colour and not relying on caramel anymore. For goodness sake, it needs to be soon. There's nothing left to talk about when I bought this for £55. £55. Now, I know that's not going to be the same everywhere, depending on where you are in Europe, the States, not in Canada, but I still guarantee that this Loch Lomond will be one of the better priced 18-year-old product. Fantastic whiskey. The next one is the same age. It was missing from the lineup for Producer of the Year tonight because it was sitting off to the side as one of my contenders for Whisky of the Year, and it was last year as well. This is Arran. Look at the colour of it, Arran 18-year-old. Look at that colour. So you think you know what this is going to taste like. You can see from that colour and you can pick up immediately this is Arran's take in their core range at a sherry bomb. It is and it isn't, because this is different from the spicy sherry bombs that we know, the more traditional kind of maybe more European oak, dry spice, almost tannic sherry bombs that we've come to love. This is relying a lot more on, I would say, seasoned American oak, and that American oak shines through. So what it does is it gives this round, plump, juicy ripeness to the dram. It's very orangey, which I think is an Arran trait. But imagine that with all sorts of other lovely, ripe, juicy fruits in there as well. Sometimes it can behave a wee bit nutty, but it never gets dry. This is not a dry sherry experience. This always stays quite ripe and rounded. I know how many of you out there are already enjoying Arran 18. I know that it's an easy sell for me to say this is one of the fantastic whiskies from 2020. Actually, it came out in 2019 because, as I say, it was in the consideration for last year. It was up against the Glendronach 15. It was up against the Tamdhu 15. But this holds its own. If you doubt this whiskey, if you can't try before you buy, if you can't go off my recommendation and you buy this blind and you think that this is not worth it or this is not a good whiskey, this is a fresh, ripe, juicy take on sherry. And I think it's fabulous for it. It's almost like a modern version of sherry maturation. American oak is quite... This is my opinion. This is what I taste in it. I don't know for sure. Arran was on. We talked about it. We touched upon it a wee bit. But I think you can taste that sweeter, less acrid, less drying, less spicy sherry maturation here. Hans is in, and Alexander is here saying, absolutely love that RN18. My whiskey of the year, made me fall in love with everything they make. I have to say, you can buy it for about 70, 75, 78, 80 pounds of that order. It might be different where you are. It is a wee bit pricier for sure in the RN range when so many others are at good value. But the quality they're going for, they've spent the money on the casks here. It's clear, it's obvious. I think it shines through. I think you would love it too. And finally, my penultimate 18-year-old, that's the common thread, is another complete step in a different direction. So we've moved away from the funk of the Loch Lomond, the sherry maturation of the Arran, and we've got here an exclusively bourbon matured product from one of my favourite distilleries for the last 3 or 4 years. I know you're tired of me talking about it. They occasionally make a misstep up there in Stirling, up there in Doon at Deanston. They occasionally bring out single casks and special releases at far too expensive prices, honestly. Charge us a bit more for the virgin oak, honestly, and less for the low quantity niche special releases. If Deanstons are going to go into, for younger Deanstons, if they're going to go into less than over £100, it needs to be justified. I paid £55 for this Deanston 18-year-old. Admittedly, that was on sale. Normally, you'd have to pay £65, £70. This, I am certain it's getting better year after year. Maybe it's my palate that's changing. Maybe this is getting better. I've got another Deanston 18 up there in the old label. You can see it here. I've got a fresh bottle of the 18-year-old there still sealed. I think it would be nice for a vPub at some point in the future to open those both at the same time, pour them together, mix them up, and decide which one is better, just to see. But I feel like the 18-year-old now is becoming, still got that lovely sweetness. It's still finished in first fill bourbon, so it's mostly refill bourbon, then finished in first fill bourbon. But I think what's happening now is that we're starting to see some of that heavy, oily, weighty, lovely coating Deanston coming through with that lovely malty spice that we get in the 12-year-old is starting to display more on the 18-year-old, or let's say I am starting to taste it more. It might just be me. But at that price, 65, 60, 55 pounds for an 18-year-old, and honestly quite a rare thing. That's what Anok is missing. Anok is missing that in the range. I have one somewhere here. I have an Anok 16. I was using it as a prop. Here we go. This is the old Anok 16, exclusively bourbon matured at 16 years old. This, to my mind, was and still is the best Anok. To my palate, Anok are capable of making amazing, amazing whiskies. But I miss that from their range. There's nothing else replaced that. Maybe it's going on to help make the fantastic 18 and 24-year-old. I understand, but is there any way that we can have some of that back? Because you're sometimes not always in the mood for the sherry cask. Sometimes you're in the mood for a much more cleaner, sweeter, spirit-driven experience. This gets a wee bit closer to that. This is only bourbon cask. It's amazing whiskey. If you doubt me, pour it blind with something similar. Mix it up, sip it in contrast. This performs way better than you would expect. And again, it's a texture thing. So much of it is about texture. Nicknean. I never mentioned the texture about Nicknean as well. Amazing texture. Deanston 18-year-old. And finally, I've already touched on it. My whiskey of the year. No need for a drum roll at all. It's another 18-year-old product. I can't believe the value. I can't believe how quickly I'm getting through it. I think it's amazing whiskey. It's complex. It flickers. Dave Broom once described Japanese whiskey as a calm mill pond. And I get this analogy. And he talked about Scotch being like a flickering burn. It switches and changes up. And it's the complexity. It's the way that it plays on the palate. And I think this, as an 18-year-old, is a perfect example of that. And this is easily, but ever so slightly, my whiskey of the year in 2020. Not least that you can still pick this up below £70 for an 18-year-old single malt Scotch. Not least that within the Inver House stable, not the 12-year-old, it's a different proposition, but once you get to the 18-year-old and above, you see on the label here, it clearly states unchill filtered or non-chill filtered in natural colour. 46% ABV, age statement, but more than that, it is wonderful, wonderful whiskey. I've been sipping it alongside these other ones tonight, and it's difficult to choose one over the other. It's dependent on your mood, dependent on your preference, but for complexity and elegance and balance and just neatness, just a lovely package. And the price, Anok 18. If you buy Anok 18, and if you don't like it, come to me and I will buy the bottle back off you opened. Seriously, that's how much I rate this whiskey. I'm going to give you a wee anecdote now, and I'm going to undo everything I've just said. I was involved in an Anok vertical tasting. I already knew how much the 18 was being enjoyed in the house. The 18 was in there in the lineup that night, and I enjoyed it very much. It was the favourite in the lineup of that vertical tasting with a local Glasgow whisky club, a fantastic club, the Hip Flask Hiking Club in Glasgow. It got Dram of the Night easily, and it wasn't my favourite Dram of the Night. My Dram of the Night was this. The only reason that I can't nominate this as my whiskey of the year. This is the best value in Scotch whiskey. This is 24-year-old, naturally presented, 46% ABV product. I've talked about it on the vPub many times before. It's the best value in Scotch whiskey because it's £115 for 24-year-old naturally presented whiskey. I am nervous about talking about this with Anok because it's owned by Inver House, who have rebranded Balblair and taken it off the radar of the enthusiasts. Something we loved has suddenly gone, and we're suddenly nervous of it now. It's instantly gone to a try before you buy, and it was not the case with Balblair previously. And a similar thing to a lesser extent happened with the repackaging of Old Pulteney as well. I'm nervous that that could happen with Anok. This is Knockdo, by the way. The distillery is Knockdo. I'm nervous it could happen with this range. But the reason I want to talk about it and applaud it and celebrate it is not to encourage that happening, but to encourage what they're doing now. And I'd love to see more of it. Let's see what you guys think. Just poured a dram of that Anok. Never disappointed, says Jimmy Jazz. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm glad you're loving it too. Truly a beautiful dram, says Simon Ray. Recommended to me by a guy in Dornoch, and I'm very grateful to him. Remember, when it's my whiskey of the year, I can't talk about the things that appear and disappear, or it's single casks or small batches, or it has to be something that's available to everybody, that shared experience that we can all connect with it and understand that these large-scale, larger, Anok isn't large by any measure, but it's larger than most, and it's available everywhere. Hopefully at the same reasonable prices that we pay here in the UK. Graham Fraser is saying, ooh, I've an unopened Anok 18, not for much longer. Graham, it's inexpensive. Just get it open tonight and tell us what you think about it. Mark Slinger is saying, Roy, you recommended. I bought an Anok 24. It was so wonderful to try. My family bought me another 24 for Christmas because they enjoyed hearing the noises I made on that first taste. Again, it's the complexity. Anok has a clove note to me right throughout the range, the 12, the 24, the 18. Some of the other expressions too. The clove note is there on this, but it's not in any way overly clovey, overly spiced. It's just lovely. It can sometimes be a bit minerally and dry, and other times it can be spiced, and it's very complex. It switches up and changes sip by sip. I love this stuff. It's difficult for me to articulate it sometimes. Everyone's saying, Roy, you always cost me money, but I trust your judgment. Just as it jumped, I'm sorry, everyone. I hope I can get your chat, oh my goodness. Where is everyone? Where have you gone? I need to catch that because it jumped midway. Everyone, I apologise. I think I've blocked your chat. Here it is here. There you go. It's jumped again. He's saying, hey, I trust your judgment. You've not steered me wrong yet. I'm very glad to hear that, everyone. But I do take this seriously. It needs to be something that I've truly loved. I have to retry that Anarch 18, but couldn't miss the opportunity to get me the 24-year-old rye before the rebranding and overpricing come in for sure soon. I hope not, Greg. Let's hope that that doesn't happen. Neil Cochran is saying Anarch 24 is spectacular value. Absolutely. Peter Box is saying I got a bottle of Anarch NAS cast strength this weekend and it's delicious. Ian Bowes has bought me a dram saying I've enjoyed vPubs all year, always on the replay until last week. That is, I've just retired. So I'm participating in live streams from now on. I'm really looking forward to the new content in 2021. Ian, I'm going to raise this glass of Anarch 18 and I'll say it's nice to welcome you in full-time live, my friend, and I appreciate all of your participation, whether it's live or on the replay in the past. And thank you for your virtual dram, Ian. Cheers to you. Evo is saying Tream is very blurry and choppy now. Oh no. Don't tell me. Tell me it's okay. Your connection gets bad, my friend. Still okay, but blurry image and some cuts now. I don't know what to do about that. I think the internet is struggling general. I've got a very strong connection. Marku Mackinnon said, Happy New Year and thanks for the vPub, which was easily a whiskey highlight of 2020. Thank you so much, Marku. Had a wee flight of Glenallachie 10, Tamdu cast strength, Teapot 7, and finally a Kilkerran 8. Wow, you're doing it right, Marku. Was a year of sherry. Marku, thank you very much for the nice words. And Neil Cochran is saying, Anarch just gone out of stock on Master of Malt. Anthony Dunn is saying, sold out on Master of Malt now. Well, there are other places as well. I can tell you that I bought a bottle. A Good Spirits Company in Glasgow has it in stock. I bought a bottle from them a couple of weeks ago. And because of the bottle that I replaced it with, I left it with a friend and hope that he's enjoying it too. You can see that the bottle I bought from Good Spirits Company, I'm very much enjoying too. And I got another one today from House of Malt. I bought one as a backup to put in the shelf. From House of Malt. They had it online too. Connection is good again. Oh, thank goodness for that. Pregarious Davis, Kresimir is saying picture is now clear. Just blurry for a bit. Good. Graham Fraser, no connection problems here, thankfully, Roy. Excellent. Video's okay now. Everybody's tuning in. Okay, I think I am done. Let's get into this quiz. A wee sip of my nickname here. You agonize all year about what's going to be your whiskey of the year. And then you just go back through your social media posts, your notes, your vPubs, look at your shelf, look at the bottles that are dropping faster than others. And it's easy, you suddenly struggle because you realize you're going to have to pick a favorite. Anthony Dunn is saying it's available on the Whisky Exchange. Excellent. Dancing Midge is saying Anarch 24 versus Teapot 00 batch 7. That's like you comparing a people carrier to a 4x4. If you want a bold, powerful, but delicious, as we demonstrated last week, Glen, Sherry Bomb, go for the Teapot batch 7. I know you love it. If you're looking for something that's complex and switches and flickers and is different and draws you in a very subtle and balanced in a quite still super interesting way, but a different way. It's like a whispering voice versus the Teapot's bold stamping of its feet. That's how I would compare those two. Graham Fraser is saying, no, I'm glad that you're seeing me clearly now. Excellent stuff. Amy is in. Amy, good to see you. And she's asking for thumbs up. The thumbs do very much help me. If you're willing to give it a thumbs up, if you're willing to give the stream a like, it helps me. And it helps YouTube help support me. I've been going on so long tonight. Thank you all for staying so late. I welcome everybody to stay for the quiz at the end. It's not just the quiz at the end tonight, it's the quiz at the end of the year. And it's not me and my questions tonight. It's the new star that we have at hosting guest quizzes, and that's Menno as well. He's put together an end of the year quiz, so I get to participate too. We'll have the quiz at the end. We'll get through that. I'll bring in Jonathan and Kresimir if they're still here. They are still here, very patient behind the bar. Green room guests that I have. We'll play the quiz together and I'll close out just by raising a glass to say thank you to you all. It's already 1:15 midnight in the UK, so naive of me to think. But it's the vPub. And it's here as a live stream for you all to hang out with me, or you can pick it up on the replay. I've started to become very relaxed about how long it goes on for. Okay, Kresimir. Okay, Jonathan. Okay, Menno. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come in and join me for the quiz. Fantastic. I'm going to bring in my friend from Belgium, Menno, and say thank you so much for stepping up. I reached out to you not more than, a week ago to say you up for doing an end of the year quiz. And what did you say?
Of course.
I have to say, buddy, the quizzes that you've done so far, that you've hosted for us, get great feedback, interesting questions, pitched perfectly, nice asshat questions in there, nice banana skins, very much in the theme and the culture of the questions so far. Hoyt has bought me a dram. Happy Ogmany, and thanks for all the vPubs. Hoyt, thank you very much for your participation all year. Menno, I'll go and bring in my other two. Actually, before I bring them in, I'm going to say thank you to you, buddy. You're one of the most vocal, along with Helen and Andy, along with Jimmy Legg, along with I don't know where I would stop if I started to name everybody. Most vocal, most supportive. It's wonderful to get your comments and know that I'm going to read something that's constructive, positive, appreciative. And if you've got anything that's kind of a critical nature or a different perspective, you're quite happy to see it. But you frame it in a way that it's like we're over a table. It's like we are speaking to each other, human to human. It's not that kind of hiding behind a screen and a keyboard. And I really do want to say thank you for it, Menno. I don't know when you joined this channel. I don't know when you came along. It feels like you've been here forever, but I think it was maybe only 2019 or something.
I think 2018 or so, yeah. So not from the start, not from the get-go, but say halfway along the ride, maybe.
Certainly very early on. I'm very grateful to all. You're not just the fact that you've been in and you're just a great barfly and a great part of the community, but when I reach out to you to say, hey, do you want to do a quiz? It's just very, very reassuring to have people like you in the background, buddy. So
cheers.
Before I bring the other guys in, I want to say raise a wee glass and say thank you to Menno, my friend in Belgium, who I've yet to meet yet. Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, let's reach out to Jonathan. Kresimir, are you ready, boy, for a wee bit of a quiz at the end?
Absolutely.
You know, we do need some women in here to colour the landscape, don't we? We do. We should have reached out and got somebody in to have us on our toes, right? Let's pull up this. I'm struggling to. Oh, that's Menno's stream. That's why, Menno. I'm bringing in you good to go now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Excellent. Listen, I'll say good luck to everybody as we start. The quiz is always multiple choice. Menno's is as well. It follows the theme. You're only playing against yourself. And I think, Menno, is there a theme tonight? Is it an end of the year theme?
Yeah, it's an end of the year quiz, so it's going to be all over the place. The only thing holding it together is 2020. It's all about 2020 and a bit about the vPub.
Can I give a wee plug to Menno's blog before we start? Would that be okay? If anybody's looking for a more succinct, more concise summary to 2020, I struggle to find a better recommendation in your latest blog post. Menno, if you want to drop in the link for your blog, your website, where you share your whiskey, please do that. And I'm sure that any of the mods will be happy to clear it. I don't know if I'm putting you in the spot if you can do that.
Maybe not at the moment, but I'll see.
I'll find it. I'll find it because I would get it from my Twitter feed. But I have to say that I've been picking it up throughout the year, dipping in and dipping out. But after reading your latest post, it made me go back and read so many more of the more recent ones. Menno, I am impressed that English is your second language and you write English better than I do.
No, I don't, but thank you.
You do. It's a pleasure to read, and it's an amazing achievement that you're putting that together out there. Okay. I hope that somebody can find it. I'll find it. I'll find it as you ask the questions. Go ahead.
Okay. So we'll start easy, and we'll take it from there. So what was the first content to appear on the Aquavitae channel in 2020?
Oh, wow.
Was that A, the Recycled Reviews number 10, B, the Region and Terroir vPub, or C, Scotch Test Dummies in Scotland Part 2?
Now you're asking. Okay, so I guess what we have to do, Menno, here is we have to hold up a piece of paper with A, B, and C on it at the same time. I'll do that quickly. I didn't have that ready. Is that okay, boys? Can you do that? Can you have an A and a B and a C?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready with my idea, I think, but I am guessing, if I'm honest.
I'm also guessing. And Jonathan just went to guess for a piece of paper. We have a man down.
That's okay.
That's what happens when you have a sniper king in the room.
A man down.
We're gonna wait for him, or yeah.
Yeah, just let me know if we wait, or probably the nice thing to do.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, Roy, don't Google what happened on the first.
What I'm doing now, and I know that everyone's playing a quiz, but I found the link for Menno's blog, and I would like everyone, if they've got some time on their hands, to go and bookmark it and give it a wee read. Is Jonathan back yet? I think we should just go ahead without him, shouldn't we?
Okay, I can tell you that two of them were very close to each other, and the third one wasn't. What do you think, Roy?
I think A and B are very close to each other, and the third one is not.
Indeed. So you're guessing A. And Kresimir saying C. I think it took Gregor only about 7 or 8 vPubs to complain and moan about not having the part 2 of the Scotch Test Dummies
That's
being
true.
available. So it was the region and terroir vPub.
Oh, wrong. I did a live stream before I released the recycled review. Wow.
Yeah, it was very close to it. I think, within the week.
I knew it was close. Close. You didn't get that either, Kresimir, did you?
No, I went for the C, for the part 2.
Okay. Well, I'm down. I'm on 0.
Question 2. We saw recently the retirement of Mickey Hetz as distillery manager of Ardbeg, and his successor is Colin Gordon, who until recently held which position? Was he A, already working at Ardbeg as a master blender? B, did he come over from the neighbors from Lagavulin, where he was a distillery manager? Or C, was he the distillery manager at Ardbeg's sister company, Glenmorangie?
I'm confident about this one. Confident. I have confidence.
So where did Colin Gordon come from?
Are you ready, Kresimir?
Yeah, I am.
You guide us, Menno. Tell us when you want our answer.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Absolutely. He was distillery manager at Lagavulin.
I have to say, the lounge knowledgeable whiskey folk kicked that one out the park. Absolutely, they knew that Colin came in from Lagavulin. Pardon me.
Question 3. You can't call it a Christmas miracle, but which young distillery can just about legally call its product whiskey? So literally since last week, which distillery can now officially release whiskey? Was it A, Holyrood, B, Borders, or C, Lindores Abbey?
Oh, that's sneaky, Menno, because you have picked 3 distilleries.
3 distilleries, all very young distilleries, all started out in 2017.
Might we call this an asshat question?
Maybe.
I think it's only an asshat question because of how tight the dates are, but I'm ready regardless.
They all started in 2017, but they didn't all start distilling in 2017.
And where are these distilleries?
Scotland.
In Scotland.
Holyrood is in Edinburgh, Borders is in the south, in the lowlands, and Lindores Abbey is in Fife, also in the lowlands. When you're ready, Menno.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Well, I can tell you indeed that you're both correct. It was Lindores Abbey. Literally last week they released their first batch of whiskey, or announced they will be releasing their first batch of whiskey.
They have up until now they've been a flavored liqueur called Aquavite, if I'm right.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hey,
Sorry, my fire alarm started going off because I was baking.
I heard it. I heard the beep starting, and I wondered if we were going to see smoke rather than Jonathan. Listen, since it's the last one of the year, give yourself 3 points out of 3, Jonathan, and pick it up from here on in. And then you can go back and correct afterwards if you'd like.
Okay, question 4. Now we're into asshat territory, although maybe folk who did the quiz last week might have an idea.
Oh my God.
If you were to strap in and watch all of 2020's vPubs in one go up until today, it would take you longer than rewatching all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, and longer than Tadej Pogačar to win this year's Tour de France. But how long would it take to watch all of 2020's vPubs?
This is an
And I swear,
I
I got this question before you did last week's quiz. So, A, about the time it took Apollo 11 to fly to the moon, which was 4 days. B, about the time it would take you to walk from Glasgow to Cardiff, which is 5 days. Or C, about the time it takes the Trans-Siberian Express to travel from Moscow to Vladivostok, which is 6 days.
So we're
So
basically
basically 4 days,
asking
5 days, or 6 days.
4 days, 5 days, or 6 days.
Yeah,
of
and I
content.
put the other things in to give you some sort of reference at the longitude of the vPubs of 2020.
Yes, I am very, very grateful to everybody. Okay. I am going to answer. I tapped out a quick calculation. I'm going to answer it when you're ready, Menno.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead in 3, 2, 1.
I'm going for Russia.
Oh, sorry, Jonathan, you've not worked. Just tell us your answer.
B.
B. You think it's 5? Kresimir and I are going for 6 days of content.
Well, I can tell you that, not taking into consideration tonight's vPub, it was 120 hours, so that would be 5 days.
Jonathan Swoops. So I am at 50% so far, and the only 2 I've got wrong are channel-related questions. Wow. Jonathan, if you grab a pen and a piece of paper and write a bold ABC, actually, he's the only one that's not, it wouldn't matter.
Okay, I think the picture question is a
You've lost the lounge. They're not happy, Menno. And that's so early. And
you're taking a break in January as well, so they'll forgotten all about it when we...
Excellent.
Question 5. This is only the warm-up asshat question, I can tell you. Question 5 is a picture question. So 3 distilleries who launched their first whiskey in 2020. But which one are we looking at? Are we looking at A, Ardnamurchan, B, Necneen, or C, Isle of Raasay?
It's easy.
I think so. I hope so.
I forgot to mention, I've mentioned Ardnamurchan tonight, Necneen. I forgot to mention Isle of Raasay just released.
I see a lot of asshats.
Yeah, I do. I see complaining. Yash is on 0 out of 4. Oh, Menno, maybe you're destroying your reputation at the end of the year. I'm okay with it, buddy. I'm on 50%. I'm a pass mark so far, and I'm confident about this one. Tell us when you're ready.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, gentlemen, please. A, C, and C. Okay, I can tell you, Roy and Kresimir, that you are indeed correct. It was the Isle of Raasay. The other 2 are really classical white buildings for the most part, I think. This one's a bit different.
Certainly architecturally more modern than that one.
Question 6. Wolfcraig is yet another new distillery that was announced in 2020, and that's nothing remarkable as such these days, were it not for the involvement of an absolute icon of the whiskey world. Who will be involved with the new Wolfcraig distillery?
Good question.
Is it A, David Stewart from Balvenie, B, John Glazer from Compass Box, or C, Richard Patterson from White Mackay?
This is a good quiz, Menno. A good quiz. I have to say, and it's and there was Lindsay Holman is saying a picture round. Correct. He's celebrating that in the end. So ones that trip up a lot of people. When you're ready, Menno, I'm just declaring victory and going to bed. Says Akshay. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year to you too, Akshay. Happy New Year. When you're ready, buddy. Sorry.
Okay, answers please. In 3, 2, 1. Absolutely. Richard Patterson. I think the funny thing about this one is that it's the main founders or the people behind it were all involved at White Mackay previously, and they're really emphasizing now how much they want this new one to be a naturally presented, no coloring added whiskey. A bit odd perhaps, but there you go.
And Andrew Butler is tongue-in-cheek saying, Aquaviti, is this what you call easy? Yes, this is an easy quiz, Andrew. Yes.
I never said it was easy. Question 7. Ralphie just revealed RN10 as his whiskey of the year 2021. But let's take a flashback to a year ago, which was his whiskey of 2020.
Oh, I've got comfortable with this one too.
Okay. Was it A, Ardbeg 10, B, Deanston 12, or C, Glenallachie 12? So the banana skin here being that these all have been Ralphie's whiskies of the year at some point.
Absolutely. Marty Wong is suggesting somebody loves caramel. I think he's talking about the Wolfcraig question. You confident, Jonathan? Kinda, Kresimir?
I'm not, because I'm not sure about the year. I know about Glenallachie 12 because he said it, but was it last year or was it in 2019?
You're 10 years younger than me, Kresimir. Come on.
Hence the yellow thing in the bottom left corner, Kresimir. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, answers please, gentlemen.
And I'm going to go with instant. I don't know why.
Oh, we have dissent. Jonathan decides it's Glenallachie.
Glenallachie was the whiskey for 2019. Deanston was for 2020. Well done.
And it's funny. It's funny. I've just nominated 2020 tonight, but Ralphie does it in advance. So Ralphie talks about next year's kind of whiskey of the year. He has a slightly different take, and I'm talking about whiskies from the last year, of course. So yes, you're right. Absolutely, his whiskey of 2020 was Deanston 12, and his whiskey of 2021 is Aaron. Both excellent choices. Good stuff, Menno.
Okay, question 8. And for once, the whiskey robbery of the year doesn't come from a flipper asking 500 quid for a bottle of Daft Mill. What was stolen just earlier this month with an estimated value of £200,000? Was that A, a trailer containing cases of Glenfiddich 12, B, part of a rare collection from La Maison du Whisky in Paris, or C, a bottle of 60-year-old McCallum that was set for auction?
I have to guess this one because either the story passed me or I didn't register it, but I'm going to make an uneducated
Kresimir smiling.
An uneducated
smiling. I think this one, the answer to this one actually popped up in the Aquaviti, the Barflies Facebook group.
Wow, I need to study the barflies group more often. I'm going to make a guess at this one.
Okay, answers in 3, 2, 1. Triple A, and all of you are indeed correct.
Oh, see, you could have tempted me on B there.
2,400 cases of Glenfiddich 12 were stolen from a trailer, or the trailer disappeared. And La Maison de Whisky in Paris, they have been robbed, but that was last year or the year prior to that, I think. So.
And I have to say that a 60-year-old McCallum would fetch a hell of a lot more than 200 grand.
Probably.
Unfortunately, excellent.
Okay, second to last question. Here's a salute to Roddy.
Hey, one for Roddy.
There are quite a lot of distilleries with a royal warrant, but throughout history, how many distilleries were granted the use of the word royal as a prefix or a suffix to their name? A, 3, B, 6, or C, 8?
Oh, this is brutal, Menno. Brutal.
I only know 2, Roy.
You're going to learn. Well, Menno, if it helps at all, Menno did say prefix or suffix.
Indeed.
I don't know if that helps you, but it doesn't help Jonathan.
No.
Okay. I'm good to go. I am strapped in and ready.
Okay, then show me the answers in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, A, and B.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Jonathan. It was 3. You have Royal Bracla, Royal Lochnagar, and Glenurry Royal.
Yeah,
These are the only 3. These are the only 3 ever. So there are lots of distilleries who have a royal warrant, but only 3 can use the word royal in their name.
Greg in France has actually written A and written all of the distilleries in there.
Well done, Greg.
Does Crown Royal count, says Andrew Spurrell. Fantastic, Andrew. Crown Royal.
Oh, Hell's Wit is on 8 out of 9.
Wow. Oh, wow. She's beaten me tonight.
And I'm going to go out of 2020 with what I hope is an enormous asshat question.
Oh, you promised us there was only going to be one, but no.
No. A century ago, prohibition was installed in the United States, but after it was lifted again in 1933, how many illegal distilleries were discovered?
In the US?
In 1933, indeed.
Is that like what constitutes a distillery?
I think those that were officially counted as, though there could be more, but the ones that were, how many were there discovered? So
how many is recorded?
I think it would be
discovered?
Probably a lot of bootlegging, semi-official distilling going on. But I will give you a small clue. In 1933, there were about 125 million Americans. So if that can help. So A, was it 1 for every 450 Americans? B, 1 for every 1,450 Americans? Or C, 1 for every 4,500 Americans?
Wow. Menno, that is an asset.
I realize this could be a bit brutal.
Epic proportions. I am typing in that.
That's impressive.
I'm declaring this an asshat. I'm going to guess, though. I'm going to make a guess.
Okay, gentlemen, what say ye?
Okay. I've said C, but the other guys have gone for middle ground B. Wow.
Well, I did mention there were 125 million Americans, but they've discovered over 280,000 illegal distilleries. So that would be one for every 450 Americans. That's insane.
So that puts it into perspective how many distilleries are springing up across America now. It's tiny compared to that. Over 280,000 illegal distilleries. There were so many flaws in Prohibition, so many ridiculous things. Some good things did come out of Prohibition. Cultures and genders mixing for the first time in speakeasies and things. And there were silver linings, but honestly, what a crazy idea. Drive it underground. Anyway, I need to put myself down for, that's my worst ever performance at a Menno quiz, but I'll happily take it. I'll happily take a 7. I lost 2 Aquavitae questions and I lost the last one as well, the ASAC question. Boys, you only need to share your score if you're willing.
I forgot already.
Probably best.
Even with the 3 points bonus you started with in Kresimir.
7 out of 10. So I'm happy with Menno.
Easy pass mark, and you easily matched me, buddy. 7 out of 10 for me as well. Note, Evo's saying no 10 out of 10s tonight. Evo, that's good spotting. That's exactly what I was going to come into. Whiskey Jason is saying, way to go, USA. And Jerry Miller is admitting, I knew he drank a lot. Nothing is going to encourage the consumption of liquor and more than taboo and prohibition, right? And P Dram is saying, got to go to bed, guys. Have a good 2021. Good night to you as well, P Dram as well. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for dropping in. Jimmy Legg got a pass mark as well. It looks like he's on 5 and 9. It looks like he might be behind if he's only on 9 questions. Steve Atkins got 9 out of 10 tonight. That looks like an excellent score.
Brilliant.
I can't compare with that. I'm looking for Helen to see if she managed to squeeze a 9 out of 10 tonight. That was a tough, but honestly, Menno, don't sweat it. It was a great quiz, great questions, inventive, funny, tongue-in-cheek. And these things about prohibition, these things that you consider asshat questions, you think about the question about the hours of content that the vPub went out and things, it's kind of ways to illustrate things or ways to pique curiosity for people and other things. My friend Richard Hall is in tonight as well. Richard, I hope you get that package that I sent out to you because it has your evangelist coins included as well. My first fail in a quiz for 2020, could you please provide me with the address of the person that I need to thank? Dodgy Whiskey in the post. You can go to James Burgoyne. Richard, if you don't already have Menno's address, James Burgoyne will have Menno's address, and I'm sure he'll be happy to furnish you with it, especially depending on his score. Odd Johan Lundberg has bought me a dram to say thanks for some highlights in a different year. It's a good way to label it, Johan. Have a good new year. Looking forward. I'm looking forward to it as well, Johan. Thank you for your dram, my friend. Cheers to you up in Norway. Quite a few barflies actually up in Charlie. I hope you're doing well. Charlie Shimini, Charlie Kinogott is up in Norway, as is my friend Rolf Isaacson, of course. Ebhead. Andreas is in tonight. Service Alafis. There's lots of wee Norwegian barflies. Johan, it's a pleasure to have you. Cheers.
Somebody just posted, look forward to see Menno again in 2022.
Yes, not only are they knowledgeable, but they're humorous too. Des has bought me a dram, and that, look at that currency, ZAR. What would that be, Zar? Thanks, Roy, for a pleasant distraction to these crazy times. A blessed and healthy 2021 to you and all the barfies. Slancha. Anthony bought me a dram to say my score was that bad this week that the wife allows me to study more to improve, and this includes more bottles to taste more. Thanks, Anthony. It's great that you've got an encouraging wife and she wants you to do better on the vPub. Thank you, Des, and thank you, Anthony, for your drams. Cheers to you both. I'm going to say thank you very much to Menno for a good, fun, tongue-in-cheek quiz. I'm going to say thanks to the generosity and thoughtfulness of Jonathan as well for handing over your blind tasting to Andrew Pears. I hope he can pick it up soon and I can get it shipped to him. Kresimir, I'm going to say thanks and congratulations, honestly, to you as well for your blinding performance throughout the year. The pressure is on you, my friend, to keep up the mojo for 2021. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Don't hang off. Don't go off live unless you've got something to go on and do. And once we've killed the stream, I'll come on and raise a wee glass and thank you personally.
I just want to wish a much happier New Year in 2021 for all.
Here, here. Let's raise a glass.
Absolutely.
To that. Cheers. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Wonderful to have you in, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Kresimir, my friend, thank you for joining in again, especially at short notice. Always a pleasure to have you, my friend. And Menno, you're a star. Thank you so much. And I look forward to having you back in this seat, if you're willing to accept it as a guest quiz host from time to time in 2021. I hope you have fun doing it, buddy. I certainly have fun participating. It's great to enjoy. Thank you, Menno. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to drop in another wee link here for my friend Menno and hope that everybody can give him a wee follow on his blog. Forget about the fact that English is his second language. It's just a really nice, good blog, and I think very representative of the kind of enthusiast and culture and opinions and ideas that we kind of try to enjoy and share inside the vPub. So there you go. My producer of the year is Aaron. I think it's a very deserved thing. My whiskies I've gone through at length tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will try to spend some time doing a wee bit of housekeeping tonight. And if the video renders enough for me to do some timestamps, I'll do it immediately after. Maybe it'll take till tomorrow for that to happen. My whiskey of the year is Anok 18. I think it's deserved. I think if you do have the money, if you are willing to splash out a few pounds extra, the 24-year-old is absolutely worthy as well, depending on the price where you are. Jimmy Legg has bought me a, oh my goodness, Jimmy, that's a huge, that's a bottle, Jimmy. That's a Roy. You've made so many people that I've never met seem like best friends. It's impossible. I'm sure you don't believe how important you are to so many of us. Let me assure you that you've accomplished something no one else can possibly could have. Thank you so much. I don't believe that for a second, Jimmy. It's a privilege that I am the one being able to do that. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Jimmy, I've loved your humour, your colour. I've loved your abrasiveness. I've loved your belligerence. I've loved everything that you've brought to us throughout 2020, and I'm looking forward to you being part of it in 2021 as well. I raise a wee glass to hope that my friend Max over in Austria is recovering nicely from his surgery, to raise a glass to hope that Era had a good birthday, to wish that a friend over in Indiana doing large is also recovering nicely as well. I'm going to thank everybody for really what you don't understand, especially when you thanking me, all these thanks and gratefulness and all these things, is that sometimes you need to consider it from the other way, that this would have been a very, very different year for me, because I lost my job and things this year. I had to come out and do something different. And I had a fork in the roads back at the end of April, start of May, to decide whether to pursue this whiskey thing, this nonsense, this whimsy, this silliness, or to try and find scraps and things that I could pick up and contract for to see me through the year. And I chose the whiskey thing, and you stood up, and you stood up strong. And you reassured me. And if ever I needed reassurance, it was incredible, some of the stories I could share, the comments and the actions that you took throughout the year to make me know that I was doing something that people appreciated. Alexandra Sochu is saying, always good crack and company in the vPub. Hopefully we'll get to see each other in a real vPub in 2021. Service Alafis, my friend Andreas in Norway, is saying, thank you for providing a safe haven and sanctuary for us barflies. You're the person of the year in the whiskey world. Happy New Year. So that's what I'm talking about, Andreas. Thank you, my friend. We've had the pleasure of meeting in real life, and I hope it happens again soon. But what you all need to understand is we all face challenges throughout these difficult times, when these things happen in our life, and these things that we think we're going to be good at, and then we're not good at, and other things we're not sure we're going to be good at and we're okay at. And we all go through life with these kind of facades and faces, and we dig deep for strength, and we all wear armor. You will not know how much you've done for me in 2021. Yeah, you're not getting it, Helen. You're not getting the tears. You will not ever understand how much you've done for me in 2020. And I'm very, very grateful for it. It's a pleasure and a privilege. I'll never tire of saying it. If you're tired of hearing it, You don't need to. You can mute yourself or whatever. And Anthony's saying, for me, Roy, this channel group helped me keep saying throughout the year, the community, and you made this year so much more positive. Remember, I'm an amateur. I only do this from an amateur perspective. I'm not from the industry. I'm certainly not in broadcasting. I'm not in whiskey. I'm not in any of those things. But I love it. I love doing this. And as long as you'll allow me the space to do it, and as long as you'll come along and sit with me while I do it, I'll continue to bring it to you. To all my barflies that have stepped up and supported this channel as members this year, to all my moderators who have kept this chat so positive and welcoming and helpful and inclusive and clean and wonderful, thank you for helping me. To everybody that's supported this channel, an amazing group of patrons, an amazing supportive group of patrons. I will never cease to be amazed that you're all here helping me in my 2020. I very much look forward to welcoming you all back to the vPub on the 14th of January. I'm taking a week off in January, early January with the family. You're all, I say this from time to time, and I really, really mean it. You are very, very dearly loved. And I very much look forward to picking up 2021. The way that we started 2020, full of optimism, positivity, and looking forward to more wonderful whiskey moments and shared experiences. I would love to read your comments just now, but I'm barely holding it together. So I'll just let the end credits roll and shut the door on 2020 with a raised glass of Anok 18 and a very heartfelt thank you. I'll see you in 2021. Beautiful whiskey folk, dedicated barflies. Slanchiva.